Hello and welcome back to another episode of That Ain't Meta. Today we have a Final Fantasy VII Remake themed episode for you guys. I am Big Dongster, joined by Avocado Canyon, Bubba, and Kuzbento.
No, you're wrong.
What?
It's Bubba.
That's what I said.
No, you said Bubba.
What?
What?
Okay. I should get anyways.
You're trolling me. Anyways, so yeah, Final Fantasy VII Remake came out. Big game. We're gonna talk about it. So first off,
big game, big opinions.
big opinions, yeah.
Oh.
So first off, we're gonna
Final Fantasy 15.
not Final Fantasy 15. We're gonna talk about the non-spoilery stuff first, so like not all the not story elements. So we're gonna talk about like the gameplay and whatnot first, and then we'll go into a spoiler section where we talk about the story and the big ending that's got people in a ruckus. So who wants
Sephiroth is Kefka.
who wants to start?
Okay. Let's lay out the character development. I think was on par with, I think even better than a lot of the AAA titles lately, especially in Final Fantasy standards. Final Fantasy hasn't had the greatest track record of the greatest character development over like the longer periods of time, but I think they really nailed it, especially with the voice acting. But that's a different can of worms. I feel like each character really like held their own throughout the story. I even felt way stronger about Barrett in this game than the original. Like in the original, I love him, but like he was kind of a one-note character, you know. I get it. He got character development in Corel. You know what? It was a good moment, but then he just kind of stood that character for the rest of the series, and I was like, okay. I was way more interested in like Vincent and Cloud and Tifa, but I don't know. I think that they really nailed, you know, Cloud's, you know, false pride and false sense of arrogance. Like I think they really nailed that. Like Barrett just, again, I keep going back to Barrett, but like he has just so much emotional depth. Like you can feel like his motivations for being an Avalanche. Like you can feel it all. Like, and I think, and even like with Jesse, Wedge, and Biggs, like that was it. Like, you know, for characters that you met for like 5 minutes and then died the next 10 minutes in the original, like I honestly, you couldn't have gotten me to care about them in the original. Like I couldn't. In this game, like they were like everything. I was like, holy shit! Like I was genuinely sad. Like I actually fucking cried when Jesse died. I was like, okay, well, you know, that's a checkbox for, you know, that was one thing that they succeeded at. How about with Tifa? How do you guys feel about Tifa?
I thought Tifa was great. Like I think she was already one of the better parts of the original game, and then they made her even better by just having her more involved in things and showing her side of how she felt throughout, especially like the second bombing mission, just showing how she reacted to that and how her motivations were different from other people's.
Yeah, when she said dilly dally shilly shally, it really it went beyond my expectations.
Or you
of what
like
I
10
wanted.
years behind.
No, I'm right on time. Okay, that's the remake.
The children is the
I like-
Yes.
I like how she
You
questions.
haven't played a game.
I like how she questions she's doing the right thing. I think it fits her character a lot more.
Yeah, and like how her and Jesse in a way butt heads, not only because of the romantic interest in Cloud, but also because Jesse was on like, she was like all in, and like Tifa was like half in, and Jesse did not like that. So like she was conflicted about her being part of the mission. So like it really evoked like, oh wow, these are people. These are people with their own motivations. Like that felt good, you know. On that, the character interactions were like perfect in this game. Oh my god, like just the side dialogue while you're fighting, the side dialogue when you're just running around, and just the overall like dialogue during like story events and cutscenes. I was like, wow, like Cloud and Barrett's dynamic, like how it started, like how as it was in the original with like the distrust, and the snide remarks, but like how it actually evolved throughout Midgar, I was like, wow, that's 10 times better than it was in the original.
Yeah.
Like they actually felt like they were growing a relationship. The Cloud X Berry. That's the shit. That's the
Carrot?
shit. Yeah, carrot. I also love. Oh my god, the Tifa Cloud moments, man. I'm sorry for the people that still ship Aerith and him, but this was it. I mean, I'm biased because I'm
Wait, who's there?
Wait.
Yeah, all I know is Eris. What do you mean?
Stop that right now.
She in the game? She a character?
Bro, stop that. See, hey, no, Aerith was done really well.
Oh, that's the healer girl.
Boy.
Long nose McGee.
But I don't know. Like
Sorry,
I mean, I'm
I only know
biased.
Tifa. That's like the only girl in the game.
I mean, she is only but I'm biased because Tifa's best waifu. But I don't know. Like they really nailed the like. There's like chemistry there, even while Cloud's not really himself yet. You know what? Okay, that doesn't have to be in the spoiler section. This game's been out for
we can talk about stuff that's
the
from the
game's been out for 20 years. If you don't know it, you don't know it.
You. Yeah, that one viewer that hasn't played the game because I don't know things. Get out of here. Go listen to our other podcasts. Go enjoy yourself. Go take a walk. Go outside. It's
Or
nice
play the
outside.
game.
You can't go take a walk.
Actually, no. Go play the game right now. There you
It's
go.
like- it's
Go
like for
play the
free.
game.
It's like $10, like $15 on PlayStation.
Or you can emulate it.
Yeah.
Or yeah, you can emulate it.
But
Anyways.
but yeah, no, yes, even like you can really tell that like she's struggling with the fact that she sort of knows that like this isn't how Cloud used to act. This isn't the real Cloud. But the fact that she's still there to support him and like the chemistry is still building there, especially in the moments where he does come out of his shell and show like the real Cloud. Like I was like, wow, and like even the secret cutscene with her and him. Like that was like, oh my god, the amount of emotional, like, god, the emotion that came out of like Tifa's voice acting in that scene, and like her and Cloud's relationship and loss, and oh yeah, and the moment in the bar when like you get you order something hard and bitter, and it's I didn't know this was the first time through, but it's the color of Cloud's hair, and then for the second one. It's her recommendation, it's Cosmo Canyon, and it's the color of her eyes. When he holds it up and like you see the point of view, and it's like the camera is focused on her while the drink is blurred out. So like when he says beautiful, it's referring to her. I was like, wow, like and then the freaking train scene where he grabs her, and then like they have a moment while they're just on the ground. I was like, oh.
Yeah, that bear goes, stop it. This game is rated T for teens.
It was just so fun. Yeah, all the character moments.
I love how cute Aerith and Tifa's interactions are. They're so wholesome.
And then they put a shark inside Cloud.
What? What are you talking about?
Who's shark?
Mako.
Oh my god.
I was like, what the heck? Who's shark?
Bro, they put a shark inside
They put a whole
Cloud.
shark inside Cloud,
Could you
bro.
imagine when they say Mako cells, it's just shark cells?
Yeah.
But then
Cloud Shark Boy.
find out that they turn into street sharks like that old cartoon. That Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle shit.
They're
kind of
dying
thing.
from shark poisoning.
Yeah.
So.
Poisoning.
How do you think they have such an awesome ability combat, bro?
The live stream is made out of a bunch of sharks. Change my mind.
Bro.
The
Why do you
Earth
think
goes with
Sephiroth
sharks.
has his long hair? It represents the body of a shark.
Yeah, his eyes. He has shark eyes.
Yeah,
Is
they're
that
shark
their cat
eyes. Both
eyes?
of
No,
them.
No, they're
Shark
shark
eyes.
eyes.
Shark eyes, they're Mako eyes. Come on, not every soldier has them.
You want to talk about the voice acting?
Voice acting. I thought, yeah. I think in terms of like Final Fantasy games, because they only like have had voice acting from 10 on.
Ha 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 ha.
So, in terms of Final Fantasy standards of voice acting, this was definitely one of the better performances. I still think, personally, for me, I think 15 had some of the best, at least between the main 4 characters. But this one, the main cast did a very good job. I think the NPCs for the most part were very good. I could tell like there was a lot of big names in voice acting at least that were playing side characters that I heard.
Even like the smallest character.
Yeah, even like small characters.
Yeah,
Or,
the
like-
two Shinra soldiers, I shipped them, bro.
Like Kyrie
Yeah,
and Johnny and
yeah, you had some
An
big
old lady.
old lady. Yeah, you had some
Or the
big.
fact that that one guy in the alley is literally like just a big name.
Yeah, I don't remember like when I was like playing the game. I was like, oh, this is this person. This is this person. That's cool. But yeah, the performances were good, especially I think for more of the emotional parts, and then like all the like side witty dialogue that happens in like the fights or like outside of combat where you're just walking around. Those are really fun. Yeah, I think that was like the best part of 15 was the way the characters were able to joke around with each other, and
Hey,
it
look,
felt
I
like
caught
very.
one. It's small, like yours.
It was very.
You want to take a picture?
Yes.
That was a great time.
Yeah, give me pictures in Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah, I honestly wouldn't mind.
Bro,
but
they don't
that'd
even
be
have
kinda
cameras.
cool.
What you mean, bro?
What do you mean? I'm sure they could have like a weird pictograph something. I
I'm
don't
sure, yeah, they can have like a
Chocobo.
Shinra camera or something.
A chocophone.
Chocophone?
Yes, chocophone.
I can see it.
I don't. People have a. Some people are like split on Tifa voice actors, but I am
Why?
all in. I mean, they're like, oh, she sounds so much more mature and
Like, wouldn't that make sense?
depressing.
Okay,
and, like,
shut up,
and she's like,
Lollies.
and she's like, oh, but she was a lot more like hard in the original, but I don't know if I.
I
agree
mean,
with that.
like,
Oh.
do you know her back?
Yeah,
They
I
kinda,
mean-
there's no voice acting. In
Yeah, the thing is
so
like,
how could you
it's
tell?
hard to tell because it was text.
Yeah.
So, like, a bunch of different
That and
interpretations
they're
could be
literally
made.
blocks.
And,
When you're talking about Ivan Children, then like that was a different person.
Actually,
Yeah.
you know, it was actually higher pitched.
Well,
Well, yeah,
Tifa's
no,
also
that's
a
what
lot
they-
happier than that movie.
Well,
I
she
wanna
was
say
more.
she's
She was like more hopeful than Cloud was, but Cloud also.
Cloud went back to being edgy.
Let's not get into Avon.
Yeah, let's
Children.
Bro, that's the best movie.
And
What you
then,
mean?
but yeah, I like Tifa. I think it makes sense with her character given what happens, you know, in Nibelheim and whatnot, for her to be a bit more mature. Not just mature, but more. I guess
Grounded?
grounded. Yeah, is the word. Like she's not like overly hopeful. She understands how the world works, and that shows in like the multiple times where she says like, "Was it like I'm so done with this?
Yeah.
I'm tired of this."
Yeah.
Like,
And
all
like
the stuff
yeah,
that
and the
happens.
scene with her and Cloud, and like
Mhm.
you know how like she slowly breaks down from like you know they took our home, they took this, they took that, and I was like, wow, like her delivery was so good
Yeah.
in my opinion, and like and Aerith's voice actress was really really awesome, despite this being her first voice acting gig.
Yeah.
Actually,
Seriously?
yeah, no, Cloud's voice actor is also this is his first voice acting gig as well.
Yeah.
They both had
Bro,
acted
they both
before.
literally like perfectly fit their characters, I
Yeah, they
I
did a
love
very
Aaron's
good job
delivery.
casting.
They did a really good job of like balancing how like lighthearted she is, but also like she realizes like what's happening.
Yeah.
She's a
She
girl that grew up in
realizes
the
she's
slums.
think. Ghetto,
you know?
bro.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I like she had like a playful sass to her that, which apparently like in the original there was like a lot of weird translations with Aerith's dialogue, so like it's something that didn't come across as clearly, but yeah, it came across clearly in this. I think the only problem with like the voice casting was Sephiroth, and that wasn't to say the guy didn't do a good job. I
He did a
think-
great job with what he had.
Yeah, I just don't think his voice fit as well as the other voice actor that's been doing it for longer. I just think that deep baritone voice really fits Sephiroth. It makes him a bit more
menacing.
menacing.
What I feel like what this
Come
one
at me,
what this
Cloud.
one does well is like how like unhinged
Yeah, he does a
is.
good job.
He does a good job with like when he's talking to Genova.
Mhm.
He's like talking about his plan, and I'm like, oh, like this fits.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know if like he would benefit from having two voice actors, but like, it's funny because there's like a duality to him, and like there's two kinds of Sephiroth, and it's hard to get both of them with one kind of voice.
Yeah.
But I think he did a great job, especially in like the last few scenes
Mhm.
where like it was just him and Cloud.
Yeah,
like,
that was good.
like, so, I don't know, but oh shit, that's a spoiler.
Is it
Well,
that?
yeah, you
you
did-
already,
you
they
did
already
talk
mentioned
exactly.
That's fine. It's good.
It's fine. Well, actually, yeah, there were plenty of scenes in the trailer
Yeah,
talking about
I
that.
mean,
actually.
the intro, they talk to each other.
Yeah.
That is true. Yeah, but that's fine.
Yeah. So I guess that out the way, we can talk about the gameplay.
Wee woo.
Which
Wah, wah,
I think for
wah.
me and Kuzbento, we play a lot of action games. Like I play a lot of Devil May Cry. He plays Bayonetta. So the combat for us felt really stiff, I think we could say, where like all the the RPG aspects where you have the ATB system and you can kind of pause time figuratively to decide what you're gonna do, and you can pick your actions and your items and whatever. That all worked fine, but I think the action part of the game doesn't work as well as I think they wanted it to, and the same thing happened with 15, where I think they're still trying to figure out how exactly to do
15
action
was just
RPGs.
rushed.
That's true, but that's
They
the
said,
thing.
Bro, I want it now.
That's the thing with 7 is you would think they would have put a little bit more time into the gameplay. Like it's not bad, but it could be better.
Bro, that's right.
I also just think it's heavily dependent on enemy design.
Yeah.
Cause when you're in a building, when you're in a building, there's this like data simulator sort of thing where you just fight random enemies. And I felt like that was really fun. Like I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
But there's just certain enemies that you fight, or like mini bosses where it's just like, I'm just sitting here.
Yeah.
Robots, all the drones, and like indoor drones.
Oh yeah, those
Yeah,
robots
a
that
lot.
cast protect.
A lot of the stuff that was like indoors, where there was like really close spaces, was not fun.
Fighting
you don't
soldiers
have
indoor
anything.
works A-okay.
Yeah.
Fighting drones and giant robots indoors, not
Or
okay.
certain fishy merman-looking enemies indoors in the sewers is not fun.
Jump.
Yeah, but it does work. The gameplay does work, but it could definitely use some improvements.
I think they either need to take out all of the flying enemies or improve the air combat.
Yeah, that
and
was-
improve the air combat more than just a simple combo.
Yeah.
Or you always have Bear with you, because if
Yeah.
you don't, then it becomes a slog. Like Drakes were just not fun to deal with,
You have to spam
you
magic.
know, and
Yeah,
that,
but
that was
you
the
can't build
frustrating thing.
ATB when you can't hit them.
Exactly.
But yeah, and that's another thing. I feel like where the gameplay shines is where like when you kind of get into a rhythm of switching through your characters, and you start like landing combos and comboing things between characters. I'm like, oh man, this is it. Like I feel like they nailed that. That's something like that's an experience that I think I have not had in another action
No,
RPG
I
game.
don't-
You know?
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
as I've played through every Dark Souls and Bloodborne and Sekiro, no game has that kind of switching combo. Like this is the first game that ever
Yeah,
had.
like real time.
Yeah, like real time. The slow motion. It does a really good job of interpreting a turn-based game into an action.
Tales of
RPG.
games kind of do that.
Yeah, but they don't have.
But there's no
that,
time
There's
stuff.
no, like,
There's
time
no like
They don't have
true.
the
There's no
ATB
true
thing.
switching or like using an ability.
So like
kind of
controlling
stuff.
the pacing of the fight, they did a really, really good job with that, and
Yeah.
having that variety of each character really feeling like their own character, not just like a reskin,
Yeah.
and it's just the same combat with all the characters. That was really awesome. Where it didn't shine was within the ATB system, in the fact that I get it. There's several materia that like First Strike, and ATB Stagger, and like the ATB block materia. Like there's lots of materia to help you with that, but like you can't have it on everyone when you're trying to have certain setups. And it's the problem with that I had with it was like I felt like I got ATB fine with Cloud,
Yeah.
but I did like with the other characters I felt like it was a little bit slower. Even when you're constantly switching, it's still a little harder to get material, especially when you can't hit certain enemies or you're trying to run. So like, and the fact that everything is tied to the ATB system, whether it's healing, whether it's abilities, whether it's physical attacks, whether it's all the magic, it for me it just seems like it's too much locked behind a system.
Yeah.
Like the fact that you have an MP bar and an ATB bar is like, wow, like I get it. Magic's pretty busted, especially when you lay down an arcane ward with Aerith, and then on top of that you have Magnify, so you're shooting off 6 spells in one go. I get that. But sometimes you can't even set that up because you don't have the ATB for it. And it's just like, you know, if they could like dial back the scaling of the magic damage, but make it so that magic was just tied to an MP bar. Because even late game, I found that after like 3 level 3 spells or like 5, 6, 7 level 2 spells, you're already near out of MP. And I'm like, okay, well there you go. There's the drawback of spamming magic. So by adding the ATB system on top of that, I felt like it was a little overkill. It really stunted gameplay. There's a lot of times, a lot of dead space in fights where I'm just running around waiting for my ATB to charge so I can use an Ether, or I can use a Phoenix down, or I can use Revive. And it's just like, I kind of hampered their gameplay because for an action RPG, the main goal is to constant fight, there's a flow. And when something breaks that flow, which is I feel the ATB system did with attaching magic to it, and items.
Yeah.
Oh my god, items should not be tied to that. I'm sorry, like that was kind of ridiculous, and especially when you have a hard mode where you can't even use items. It's like, you know, like I don't know.
Insta-kill moves where you can't revive anybody.
It's kind of for me. It just seemed like it hampered. It took away from the experience. It didn't add anything. It was artificial. It was artificial difficulty, and I was like, that's not fun, you know?
Yeah.
Like, the fights that were hard because they were, like, actually difficult, I had a great time. But that was just kind of like, I don't know about that. And, like, when the dodge roll was terrible because it didn't have any iframes, but, like, you can go more into that, right?
Yeah, being a Dark Souls player knows spamming the fuck out of, you know, all of your iframes. Especially Dark Souls 3, because that game is poo-poo. I'm sorry, that game's poo-poo. So is 2. 2 is poo-poo. 1 is king. It would always be king. Best story, best everything, alright? Fight me on that. Bloodborne and Sekiro, also a treat. Those are good games. Go play those too. Just forget about 2 and 3 in Dark Souls. They don't exist. I'm sorry. But yeah, iframes are very important in action RPG, especially in games like Bloodborne, where it's just super high, fast paced, no blocking. You need a dodge. And if your dodge is not iframes, if you're pinned up against the wall and you cannot just like, the enemy doesn't have stun, or you don't have an iframe dodge, you're just fucked. And that seems to be the case with Final Fantasy. It's just some moves have radiuses of explosions, but your dodge doesn't quite exceed that radius, so you end up still getting hit when you shouldn't, because in your brain you're like, I dodged it, therefore I should not be punished, but you are still punished for doing the right thing, which that should not be the case. Or the fact that you have 3 enemies and 3 boss fights, 3 enemies, and Dark Souls 2 did this too, and everyone hated that boss fight. The Sentinels, everyone knows that the really tall dudes, the freaking halberds and the shields, and like once you get one low, another one summons. Once you get that one low, another one summons, and there's like 8 Sentinels on you. It's really stupid because now you lock on one person, which means if there's a couple behind you, you can't see them. So it's not a good time. So when you put 3 of them, but here's the thing: Dark Souls at least has hit stun.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy does not have hit
That's
stun.
another thing.
I don't know why they had this as a thing, but you're literally wailing on a character and they don't react in any way. That's another thing. It takes a little bit from the gameplay, because like if you're getting hit by a giant ass sword, a buster sword, I expect you to like kneel and flinch a lot.
Yeah, there are
If you're getting pummeled down by bullets or pummeled down by Tifa's fist, or just a bunch of magic, like literally lightning strikes and ice, you should be flinching and moving. Now I understand the boss needs to hit back, so make it so it's a rhythm, like 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it's his turn. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it's his turn.
Yeah, with revenge values.
Yes.
And that's what Kingdom Hearts does pretty well. You know, you can feel whatever way you feel about the story, but like as far as gameplay goes, they really, I feel like they've nailed what like an action RPG should feel like. Yeah, like the lack of revenge values, the fact that there is hit stun with mobs.
Yeah.
And certain mobs, but then there's not for certain bosses, and so it kind of leads you in a false direction, and all of a sudden you feel like, oh, I hit stun to that enemy, I can do it to this enemy. Oh no, wait, I actually can't do that. and then you have attacks that are unblockable with large radiuses, and then you can't dodge because you don't have iframes. You're just kind of like taking hits, and I'm like, oh, you know, for figuring out a boss's attack pattern, I feel like I should be able to at least dodge and reap the rewards of actually paying attention to the boss fight. Like Rufus's fight did a really good job at that actually. When you figured out the rhythm, you figured out where your openings were, you can just get in there, get out, get in there, get out. That felt like a good fight. The bigger bosses didn't really have that same momentum. Like especially like Airbuster.
The house.
The Hell House. Like I get it. There's exploits, but I feel like a game shouldn't need exploits to be fun and difficult at the same time. Like again, it was like the lack of iframes, the lack of revenge values, the lack of hits done. It all kind of culminates into a really not fun experience, especially with the fact that the other part of the combat feels good. So when you mix that, it's even more glaring. You're like, oh man, wow, I wish that were better because this is good.
Yeah.
And like that makes it worse. So, yeah, I don't know. But like that's the thing. It's like it's in its infancy stage. This is chapter 1 of like, you know, who knows how many installments they're really gonna do. You know, I'm in the boat of being excited about that rather than being pessimistic. But, anyways, I don't know. I think there's things to improve on. But what's good is really good. So if they capitalize on that, I think this could be one of the best action RPGs out there. Like as far as like animations and like flow because of the switching the characters, I think it can exceed Kingdom Hearts as far as gameplay. They just have to actually take the feedback and get it right. You know.
I think one thing they should implement from other like action titles like Bayonetta or Devil May Cry is kind of like leaving stuff for the player to figure out for like the bigger boss fights. Because there's like some boss fights in Devil May Cry. I'm not quite sure about Bayonetta, but there's like boss fights where like there's certain things you can do with like the tools you have that like are like kind of come as a surprise. But when you figure it out, you're like, oh shit, this does this. And this gives me an opening that I would have never figured out if I hadn't tried this.
No, yeah, it's like that Bayonetta too.
Because I know in like Devil May Cry 4, when you fight Credo, you can like use Nero's Devilbringer on like a few of his attacks, and it'll like reverse his attacks, and or you'll like parry his animation. It goes into like a different animation. In Devil May Cry 5, I remember there was this really cool like when you fight the monster that Trish is stuck in. It's like he has like a big ass sword, and then like I remember I did it by accident, but like I attacked the same time he attacked, and like him and Dante they like clashed swords, and Dante like beat him out and like put him in like a stun animation. I was like, whoa. That was cool. Like it's something I figured out just playing the game. I think there should be more stuff like that, where there's like not like hidden weaknesses, but stuff that like if you experiment a little bit, you'll find stuff that you would have never found beforehand. And then I think in terms of I do like the way the ATB system lets you like kind of like breathe. If you really need it, you can kind of like just press X and just look at like, okay, these enemies are here, these enemies are here, what do I need to do to beat these enemies? That was really fun, and like some of the more hectic fights, I really enjoyed that, just being able to make it feel like an actual like regular turn-based RPG. But yeah, I think the air combat is like one of the biggest things they need to fix. And then another thing was the way that like how we were talking about there's not a lot of hit stun when you hit bosses, but when bosses hit you get stuck and you cannot move, and even some mobs do that too, where you get hit by one and then they all just attack you at the same time and you can't move, and sometimes you'll just get comboed to death and you can't do anything about it. It's just really frustrating. So maybe they should put like some sort of ability on like a materia or weapon abilities that lets you kind of get out of situations or something like that.
Like a bracer?
Yeah, or like an arrow recovery, like in Kingdom Hearts. Something that lets you get out of like a animation.
I feel like like stuns and like status effects are a little hard to deal with, especially since items are locked behind the ATV system. Again, I going back to that point, but again, that hampers the experience. Like, and I know a lot of people will argue, oh, but you're just not managing your ATB well enough. And I get that, but there's also just sometimes things happen. You just got done like landing, half of your magic and like getting halfway stagger on the boss, let's say, and like it went perfectly, and then you just get hit with a random thing, and now you're stunned. You have no ATB, and like Tifa's dead, so she can't cast like Asuna or Poisana. So like, and then you're stuck, and you're like, well, I can't really do anything. Like moments like that shouldn't happen, especially in an action RPG. It just shouldn't happen. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like, I know you mentioned earlier how what's it called? Yeah, combat animation should change based on weapon switching,
Yes.
and like I think they did that for Barret, which was really cool. But yeah, like you mentioned, they didn't really do that for Cloud.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
Yeah, especially for like, because there are players, they're just gonna mash that attack button. I don't know. Rest in peace, easy players. I'm roasting you.
I'm pretty sure I heard that the game like kind of plays itself on easy.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because you're just there for the story.
Actually, mash that attack button. But like, I think personally, the game could definitely benefit from multiple variants of the basic combo. That way, it keeps your eyes appealed, like excited to see what his next move is. Because in this, it's just like, okay, I know what he's gonna do with the basic combo. I know what he's gonna do when he does the parry. It's the same string, or as it's called in fighting games, same string, same attack pattern. You have that one, and you have that other one. Just to add like a nice flair to it would boost the gameplay so much. Like, it's a small little detail, but it'd be so much. Just like how the small detail they added when you go into your ATB, how the last word that was said echoes and slows down.
Yeah.
That's a small little detail that adds.
Mhm.
They need to do the same thing with basic combos and whatnot.
Yeah, like if you gave Cloud a lighter sword, if you like, for example, Yoshiyuki, I think is the katana you get in Rocket Town later on. Imagine like you sort of like fight with almost like a Sephiroth like fighting style, since it's a lighter sword, it's a katana, it's a different fighting base. Imagine like faster, quicker attacks, but do less damage. Like there's a lot they could do. Kingdom Hearts does it in a way where you just get combat abilities throughout, and as you progress, so it builds up your combat. I think like what Bubba said is actually a good move. I think that's a better fit for this game, as far as adding different combat elements, and it doesn't have to be a lot. They don't have to go like all in, because I get it. There's gonna be, let's see, Cloud, Tifa, Aerith, Yuffie, Barret, Vincent, Kate Sith. They're gonna be over 8 characters of combat they're gonna have to develop.
And
I get
that's even if
Yeah.
it's only those and they don't add a new member.
Yeah, like, you never know. Yeah, like I think that'll just a little bit. Like you can even just add one variation.
Yeah,
One, and I
variation
think
would go
that'd
a
be
long
fine.
way.
And yeah, it'd go a long way. Especially with like
The
melee.
thing is
yeah.
too, like, you don't even have to add anything to Barret, because it's just a minigun. You can't.
Yeah,
like,
they already
add
have
anything.
him with the melee and the
Exactly.
regular
Like, you're
so
good.
they're
You're
good
shooting
with
bullets, and you have
The
your melee
wreck.
combo. I think Tifa does a really good job, especially with her parry. That it's a slide and knockups. It really adds another element.
Yeah, like that was fun
Like
for me.
I don't think she needs another, but Cloud really struggles on that. Just that same.
It gets stale.
One to one.
It gets slightly stale just because it's the same combo sets.
Yeah.
But like with Tifa, they did a great job with the chi build up,
Mhm.
where like her combos actually change with her different levels.
And it's
So I'm like, awesome. That always feels fresh because you're always changing. You're always doing something.
And then her deadly
Yeah.
dodge materia, like the whole like spinning kick thing she does is really
Yeah.
cool. Then like when I equipped her with the parry materia, which for her it's not a parry, it's more of like just a slide kick. But that slide kick on certain like mobs just knocks them up into the air.
Stun lock 'em.
And you can stun lock, and I figured that out. I was having so much fun, and so like I think they need to do more stuff like that. Where just a little bit like a little bit of variety goes a really long way in making the game a bit more fun.
Especially considering Cloud's the main character of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're kind of stuck with him for like.
Yeah, and I get it. They're kind of trying to reflect the original with having him being stronger than everyone for most of the game. But from a gameplay point of view, now that you're kind of like playing everyone independently in a way, I think they could scale their damage just a little higher, because when you get to end game, you really feel it. You feel that Cloud is kind of like one of the more useful ones other than Aerith with magic.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else's
Especially
damage
that
kind
final
of like
boss.
it's very, like everyone else's damage kind of like cuts, and you could feel it, and you're like, wow, I'm not really doing much with Aerith's basic attacks. Whereas when you were first introduced to her, her basic attacks actually hit harder, and they're magic based, so it made sense.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, when you get to late game, they're useless, and really, they really are useless, other than her using magic. So I think with the, like, if they kind of scale people, I mean, they're gonna add Vincent and Yuffie, so like I get it. There's gonna be a little bit more there. Oh, music, it's good. Moving on. No, I'm just kidding. But no, honestly, it's. I can't understand people that do not believe that this is some of the best orchestration in gaming in quite a while. Like,
Dude, when
yeah.
Hip Hop Jacobo.
yeah,
dude,
Hip Hop
it's
Jacobo,
so
best
beautiful.
single of the year in gaming.
Honestly, release it. I'd buy it.
Anything. Like, it's the best music we've ever heard, ever.
Yeah, I'll buy it on vinyl.
Buy it on vinyl, like, it just rocks mobile rap. I'm sorry.
Like Uematsu, like he nailed it out of the park with Hollow. Honestly, with the original composition, like you could feel it. Like you could feel who that theme reflects.
Mm-hmm.
And all the remixes of Tifa's theme, beautiful.
Yeah.
Just all the remixes of everybody's theme.
Yeah.
Just little hints.
Just the
and-
music in general.
Yeah, it's just like you can
good.
Bro,
see
the
how dynamic everything was.
And the techno hints, ooh, loved it.
Like,
See,
yeah.
Like my thing is, you could enjoy the original soundtrack and like chip tune, and, like that's okay. But you can't just tell me like this is not good music.
Yeah.
You could not like it.
Yeah, and I can understand that because music taste is subjective. It's
Mhm.
entirely subjective. But from a compositional standpoint, this was just amazing. The mixing, like the adding in like notes of different songs, especially like during the Airbuster battle with like the metal guitar riff version of a Fight On, and like it's just like there's like hints of different themes, hints of the Shinra theme, hints of Cloud's theme, hints of the main theme. Oh, and like the main theme being mixed with Sephiroth's theme and the Overworld theme. I'm like, wow. Like, there's just moments where you just sit there and you just listen. There's not a lot of games that can do that for you. I can assure you that. Like that's special within itself.
Hey,
Like,
let's not forget
yeah.
that when you're looking at the art wall with Aerith and it's just playing Kingdom Hearts. Literally just plays Kingdom Hearts.
The melody.
It does sound like dearly beloved. Like
Yeah.
there's one part that it is just dearly beloved.
yeah.
Yeah, the music was phenomenal. I think I still do think that 15 is just a little bit better in soundtrack because that soundtrack is amazing. But like you have to listen to it on its own because a lot of it for some reason doesn't actually play in the game. But when you listen to the soundtrack on its own, it's amazing. But yeah, Final Fantasy VII Remake's music is great.
Oh yeah.
It made me very happy, especially just like there's a nostalgia to it, yes, but the stuff that's new is great.
It's different.
Yeah.
It's like Tekken music.
But I love the new Wall Market theme.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
I
it's
love it.
beautiful.
Like it fits.
And I like how
yeah.
it changes when you walk
Oh
through
yeah, in the
town.
different districts, they
Yeah.
have different
Yeah.
variations of it. Like I don't know, like that. I know some people are like, man, it's not the original theme. And I'm like, you know what? I can give you that. But I like the new orchestration. I think it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I just think
Yeah.
the new music it really fits the new just look
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
everything.
It's true.
Everything is just so cool
And
and
I think
like
it,
realistic.
yeah, I think it helps flesh out the game, like make it feel. It makes you a bit more immersed into it. I think
Oh yeah, big time.
having all this pretty music and stuff.
All right, pacing.
Pacing, I thought the pacing was decent. Like there was never a part where I thought it was like a slog to get through, because I have played games where it's
Yeah.
a slog to get through. But I never felt that with this. It was like I always, considering like the story was always decent, or like the story was always good, and like I found the combat to be fun. So I was always excited to get to the next combat section, just to experiment a bit more with the combat system. And the story was always like engaging, so I was always, having played Metal Gear Solid, I'm used to really long cutscenes, so I don't mind long cutscenes. But yeah,
Yeah, no, I think the pacing was actually done very, very well. Just because again, like the character interaction moments and like the talking back and forth, the cutscenes themselves, Like, I think they were done really well just because, like, if you can't enjoy cutscenes and you can't enjoy the voice acting, then yeah, it's going to ruin the pacing because you're going to be like, oh, this sucks. Oh, we were great because we got back into the gameplay. Oh, this sucks because I'm watching another cutscene. And there are games like that. But I think they actually did a pretty good job with this. You know, there are hardware limitations being on the PS4. You know, that there's going to be loading. There's going to be a lot of there's going to be a lot of time like where you're kind of like walking through hallways so that the assets can build up and load. I honest to God feel that they're going to be able to fix that when it's on the PS5 in part 2. You know, a lot of that's going to be alleviated. I think the story pacing was fine. Actually done a lot better with the new stuff that they added in from the original. So like I think they did that really well. But I will agree that there were some side quests that really were very filler-esque and they didn't feel good. The Sector 5 slums stuff with the kids, it felt what annoyed me with that pacing was going in and out of the kid area to do other quests. Just that was really long, and it
shimmy through.
Yes, the shimmying through that, like that just felt long to me, and I was like, ugh, whenever I had to go back. But other than that, like I honestly felt pretty damn good about it. Yo, and Magi,
he gets that good stuff.
Magi gives you the good stuff. You don't know about that. And give like and hearing the Golden Saucer theme early, I was like, yo, all right, they're setting up my hype so much. It's so good.
For me, the pacing is fine because like you don't have to do all the side quests. If you wanted to just rush into the story, you could just rush into the story.
Yeah, exactly. It's a choice.
Come on. Why would you not want to watch Cloud Squad and awkwardly do it as a reference to the originals? Come on now.
Well, and listen, I get it. You may feel like there was a lot of padding, but you have to understand there was a lot of walking around in the original game. Like a lot of walking around. I mean, and I know you're saying, oh, but you can interact with NPCs. You can interact with this and this and that. No, there were a lot of times where there was just dead space and walking around, especially in the overworld, and there was nothing.
That's a speech bubble, bro. It's very interactive.
And like, I love the original. I'm not gonna say it's perfect. That's definitely one of the things that like the pacing in the original was like, ugh. Like there's some moments where I'm like, man, I'm loving this. You know, a lot of character development, a lot of story development, and then you're just walking around and waiting for your next encounter, and you're like, I know, and that's a part that I get it. It's a part of RPGs. It's a part of JRPGs. But when you compare the two, I honestly think there wasn't that much padding in the remake. Honest to God, but that's just how I feel. You know.
Mm-hmm. But it's when your enemies don't even die, they just fade away.
Yeah, I think we should say that like none of us played the game when it first came out because we weren't born. But
I was born the year it came out.
But yeah,
I played it out the womb.
Yeah, like we played it. Like I played it in high school. I think Avocado Canyon also played it in high school. Mm-hmm. And because Bento, you played it in like what, middle school?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I played a part of it.
You played part of it. You watched me play most of it.
Yeah.
So
I got bored.
So like.
Oh wow! You know, almost like if you watch the same thing, you know, remake. No, we're not going to give you the same game with better graphics. So stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it. It's boring.
Like so, we don't have that same emotional appeal that some people have had when they originally played it.
I can argue that there's still the same level of emotion. Because it's less, I feel like a lot of people are claiming that a lot of it's nostalgia, but I feel like the story and the characters that's bred from it, like that's where the emotion lies. And I feel just as strongly as half the people that claim to be the like diehard fans and played the original for the past 20 years. Like I don't know. I feel like I love it the same, you know. So I don't know. I definitely enjoy it to the degree, and like seeing scenes being recreated. Have like it hit me. I was like, wow. And like hearing the theme, like the opening cinematic, I was like, wow. Like I teared up. Like that was just like that was it for me. And there was a lot of moments that made me feel that way in this remake. But is there anything else other like spoiler free that we could?
I think I think that's like pretty much it. I think all that's left is spoiler.
All right. So past this point, we're gonna be talking about things. Like new additions and stuff that you know.
The band?
Yeah, exactly. The band. that like you may not want to hear, you may want to experience it for yourself, but just be warned. After this point, we're going to talk about stuff that you may not know about.
A lot of in-game stuff.
Boruto's in this.
Yeah, he's
That's-
a secret
that's the
boss fight.
twist.
He's the
Yeah.
secret boss.
Yeah,
Alright,
he's-
so
yeah.
spoilers starting now.
Alright.
Okay, so
We can go through chapter 1.
chapter 1. So
Yeah.
we're just gonna go through.
We just
some
kind of
the
go through the
story.
game and kind of give our impressions of it.
Yeah.
Chapter
Chapter 1.
You're on a train.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same.
I think that
You jump
was
off the train.
that was the most closely done
And it was
Beat
to
by
the
beat,
original.
one
Yeah.
by one, yeah.
But it was
Yeah.
beautiful
It
because
was
the introduction of the game.
The opening cinematic
Yeah.
really set the tone for the game. Like, just, it set the scale
Mm-hmm.
scale of what we're dealing with, how big the
Yeah.
is.
It really
How-
shows
yeah.
you, like just how big the city is.
Yeah, and the composition, and like how they mixed the original theme with Sephiroth's like variations of Sephiroth's like motifs.
Mhm.
I was like, wow, like, oh man, you could feel the foreshadowing and the impending like doom like that's set up with Sephiroth being the big bad and him being involved with everything
Mhm.
and the planet. Like you could tell, and I'm like, wow, that's good. Like that's good stuff, And seeing Aerith for the first time, I was just like, it was so good.
I love how they gave so much characterization to
Yeah.
the rest of Avalanche.
Yeah, that was the best part.
Actually giving them
Yeah.
characters.
Yeah, like Wedge,
Yeah.
Jesse, and Biggs all said something, and you were like,
It's
That's
not
cool.
Wedge, it's freaking Kick the
Take the
Alright.
like I loved how Jesse was like, so, you and Tifa.
So, you wanna smash?
I know people.
Mhm.
Yeah, people are kind of split on the whole making Jesse very interested in Cloud. I think it was endearing. It was cool. It made you feel something because you can tell Cloud was coming out of his shell a little bit to that. Someone kind of forcing him into uncomfortable situations like that. Like that was a good character dynamic. I think that was really done well. Biggs was young Charlie Sheen.
Yeah.
He was cool as hell though. I loved that. Wedge was honestly one of the best voice typecasting.
Yeah.
And it's like that's Wedge. Like when I hear Wedge, that's Wedge. Like they nailed that. And his character arc's really good. I like how Luffy is and like how unsure of himself, how he's seeking Cloud's approval.
Mhm.
Like that, it was a really cool, again, the character dynamics and introducing Barrett, him coming in with the shades, and but just also seeing how big he is in comparison. Like when he comes in, you could feel how intimidating he can be, and but also cool he is. I don't know, they introduced all the characters really well in the intro cutscenes, and mixing in. Well, again, a lot of this is demo work. Most of you have already played that, but I felt like they nailed the first reactor was done perfectly in my opinion. The mixing with combat within side little cutscenes.
Mhm.
The
That
ones-
added character. Yeah, that was perfect. I really loved it. How'd y'all feel about the interior of the reactor and stuff?
I thought it was cool.
Yeah, it looked nice.
That's what I would have imagined it looked like in HD.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Just a bunch of metal and Shinra people.
A bunch of metal, sliding up pipes, all that good stuff.
Scorpion.
Yeah.
I think it
Scorpion.
looked cool.
I thought when I played the demo, I was like, man, this boss fight is really hard. And then the second time playing it, once I had a better understanding of the
Yeah.
combat system, I was like, oh, this is a lot more fun.
Yep. No,
Yeah,
it was
I
super
was,
fun.
I was
Yeah.
like, I really won't let it go.
Oh,
back.
They have the little weakness, when if you hit behind the bot. It's
Yeah.
Tail.
Yeah.
I thought they carried it over.
Maximilian, dude, really nailed it on the head, and I feel the same exact way. They really made these boss fights feel like boss fights. They're
Mhm.
set pieces. They're you really feel this is something. But I feel in the original, there were a lot of moments where it's supposed to be a boss.
Yeah.
But you could just take advantage of its afflictions and just kind of destroy it in a couple of turns, and it didn't really feel like a boss, But I guess there's a level of charm there, just figuring out the opponent's weakness. But in this game, I feel you adding the stagger system was really cool because you could still technically take advantage of the weakness and go all in for stagger and still take out the boss relatively quickly. If you really know your opponent, it's perfectly fine. But I don't know. I felt that having it being bigger and grander really made the boss fights it for me.
Mhm. I really felt that with the Airbuster fight. Because in the original, it just kind of feels like
A Ghostbuster.
yeah. He just kind of turns around, but like in this fight, it was like, okay, this is like, yeah, you really feel like, since they're terrorists, risking their lives for something, you know, that they think is right, you really feel that sense of like, oh, like your life is on the line. Like,
This was
is
a weapon.
big threat.
This was a
Yeah.
weapon developed by Shinra. Like this wasn't just a random robot they threw in at you. Like,
Yeah.
you really feel that, you know.
I like how you could sabotage it.
Mhm.
That was interesting.
Yeah. We're also getting ahead of ourselves because that's in the next 2, 3 chapters. I think.
Yeah.
But
So yeah, the first
yeah.
chapter is just what, all of the first reactor.
yeah, and then like
All that
coming out
Mm-hmm.
and seeing.
Seeing Midgar afterward was great.
You had to go through it and see everyone being like, they destroyed my house.
Yeah, like in the original, it was like just a couple of frames,
Yeah.
and that was it.
Yeah.
And so in this edition, this like fleshing out like the repercussions of what you're really doing.
Yeah.
You know, I know some people are talking about how they feel that like the game's trying to make you feel bad about something that isn't even your fault. And
But like that's the point.
You are bioterrorists.
Yeah,
Yeah, but like that,
yeah.
but also it's the conflict between like Avalanche and Shinra being this
Yeah.
mega corporation that wants to, you know, take
Yeah.
over the world basically.
At the end of the day, like it's the same thing with war. You know, that like one side could be more justified, but the acts of war is the same all around.
Yeah.
And you know, like you're still gonna kill someone. You're still gonna like again taking out the reactor. That's still gonna be repercussions. People lost their lives. People lost their homes. But that's what you accept going into it. And like, and now you start to feel that, and it's like, like you're fighting for something. Like I felt that was done really well, and added to the character depth that you know they actually acknowledged that. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, and then you get to see Sephiroth.
Yeah.
That was
Wait, do you
really
see
good.
Earth? Yeah, I think you see
Yeah,
Earth.
that's where you meet her.
Yeah,
And there's
Like,
the
here,
Zoom.
The ghosts!
big bad ghosts.
I
That
think
everyone
the
hates.
box
Whispers. That's like the official name for them.
Yeah. That's what.
Yeah. I
Should we talk
think.
about the ghosts?
Yeah, I
well,
mean.
should we talk about that near the end, Cap? Though?
Well, I guess like we read up like I'll say right now that like the thing that you have to remember about this game is that it is a JRPG, and if you're familiar with anime or other, you know, if you played other JRPGs, they don't you know like put a lot of emphasis on details for stuff sometimes, and so sometimes it's just like, oh, here's this thing, go with it, and you're just going along for the ride, and that's just kind of how it is. And I think the Whispers are a perfect example of that, where it's just like, okay, here's this new thing, we're not going to explain it, we're just going to go with it until you figure it out towards the end, and you're just kind of stuck on that ride.
Yeah, I know there's an argument that it's just it's a poor device used to add, you know, meta meaning that doesn't really like people argue that they shouldn't even have had to use it. They could have just said, oh, we're going to change things, and they would have accepted that. But it's their own way of doing storytelling. It's your opinion. It's your opinion that it's bad storytelling, you know, because again, that's all subjective.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you know, and unless you're a hardcore literature major that knows the ins and outs of storyboarding, you know, at the end of the day, it's opinion, and we have to accept that this is happening. It's you know, you can be angry, you can be sad, but it's happening. I, on the other hand, think that it was a pretty cool device that they used to set themselves up for something new, something fresh, something like uncertain. And I think uncertainty was one of the best parts about the original Final Fantasy VII. You didn't know what was gonna happen, and they brought back that sense. And I feel like a kid again playing it, like actually feeling like, wow, I can't wait to know what happens next. You know, and honest to God, you can say how convoluted this new stuff is, but the original story was pretty convoluted. You know, with Genova and with Sephiroth clones, the reunion. The fact that Cloud was never really himself. He was another person the whole time. That his psyche broke down and they had to rebuild it through the live stream. Like, you had.
But he also, you know, had the combat experience of that for some reason.
So, like, you know, you have to kind of just take some things at face value. Like, you know,
I mean, Cloud wasn't even like a person. He was just
Yeah.
like a clone of Sephiroth that was failed, but somehow was a kid, but also could grow up, and then
And then became Zack, and then yeah.
It was.
But then like he
wild.
also like wasn't like he was like a vegetable during that most of that trip with Zack.
exactly.
And like right when Zack died, he was like, "Hello, oh I'm awake. Oh he's dead. I guess I'm Zack now."
Yeah, it's like, but like, there's charm and fun to it, and I feel like people forgot. They forgot how that feels. They forgot like the sense of wonderment, and like, I know a lot of people are comparing it to Kingdom Hearts, and then like the fact that Nomura's name is slapped on it, but that doesn't mean that's not the end all be all. The
Yeah.
fact like he was involved in the original Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
He was involved with it, so you know, like I feel like that's a poor argument. It's a poor argument.
Yeah, people also forget like with game development, you don't have just one like director slash developer slash writer whatever. You have it's a team of people there that are always throwing ideas around with each other and going, oh should we do this? Should we do this? Okay, yeah, let's do that. It's not just he's not just sitting like in a chair and they're like, okay, Mr. Nomura, or can we do this? He's like, yes, you can. It's not like it's not that. It's ideas being thrown around across multiple people. He's not a dictator. That's not how games work.
Yeah, and like there's a difference. There's a difference.
Yeah.
Kingdom Hearts doesn't have a direction.
Yeah, like I don't think anybody knows what the end goal for Kingdom Hearts is. They're just going, but this I feel like they have an ending in mind and they know how they're gonna get there.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what happens.
There's just a whole lot of assuming.
Yeah.
A lot of
That's the thing
assuming.
is like we're not gonna know what happens until it happens.
Exactly. And like,
everything's-
if you're gonna go out of your way to assume, why not assume things that are gonna make you happy?
So yeah.
I get it. You don't want to set yourself up for disappointment, but you know, not everything's gonna be a disappointment.
Yeah,
You know.
Like the thing is like we just kind of really have to see what happens.
Yeah, like if the character's gonna be this well developed and this well written through the whole time, I don't care if they make differences. Because for me, the Final Fantasy VII is its characters, is its music. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And if you have that at its core, there's nothing to worry about in retrospect. You know,
Yeah.
it's not gonna divulge into a bunch of nonsense dribble. They're not gonna throw away the main story beats.
Yeah.
There's
like,
no way.
It'll be different if they just like in the second game, you just kind of like, I don't know, like Cloud dies, Barrett's the main character, and like you
And
go,
he gets with Aerith.
yeah, and you go back in time and Barrett like brings another dimension like Barrett into the game.
And you
You have
play
two
Sephiroth.
Barretts,
There you
and
go.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's different. But it seems like they mostly want to just kind of keep everything mostly the same in terms of the original plot, but just a few small differences to keep it unique. Like they don't
Yeah.
they don't want this game to replace the original.
And
They
again,
want it
yeah.
to be something its own thing.
Again, and this is our assumption. All you can make are assumptions because the game isn't out yet. And I don't know. I'm in the boat that, you know, why make yourself feel like shit? That's a choice. It's a choice to say, oh my god, this game took a shit on the original Final Fantasy VII. It's the worst thing since sliced bread. And like, I can't believe they ruined it. And I'm like, well, you know, you have to remember that it still exists. And you can go play the original whenever you want. I love the original just as much as the next guy. You can play it. It doesn't change anything. It's not a replacement. It never was meant to do that. No remake is a direct replacement to the experiences you made with that game. That doesn't change anything. You know, you can love something and hate parts of it. I love this game. I love this remake. But there are parts where it's flawed. And I'm not going to act like they're not, but I'm also going to enjoy the fact that there are people out there that say they love the 95% of the game and that last 5% ruined it. It just doesn't add up. It just doesn't make sense that you would let yourself
So
feel
I'm using a calculator right now, and
Wow.
it's just not adding up.
God damn it.
So
Let's get back on track.
Yeah. So chapter 2, that's where you go back to Midgar. Right. We'll get back to all the endgame stuff later on.
Yeah.
But chapter 2, you end up back in Midgar.
You get
or
to see
in
T
District
for
7.
the first time.
The slugs.
Seventh Heaven, you get your own apartment. No, it's just more like characterizing that Sector 7, giving that part of Midgar
Oh, yeah.
itself more
The
personality.
slums had a personality. Each slum had a different personality.
I think that was really cool. Like
Mhm.
each place had like its own feel to it.
Yeah.
And you understood that it was kind of more like a down and gritty, like each place is kind of like section, like it has its own like
Yeah.
kind of like way of living.
I was all for like how protective Barrett was of Marlene.
Yeah.
When like Cloud went up to her and got all defensive, I was like, wow, that's definitely something he would do.
Mhm.
Being that that's his little girl, and Cloud doesn't know how to switch off the mercenary eyes.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Sure.
And the side
Yeah.
quests
Sure
for the
guys.
cats.
Oh man.
Mm.
But yeah, even just like the character moments with Tifa and him, like it really felt like they grew up with each other,
Yeah.
despite him not being who he is yet.
Yeah.
Because there's still part of him that's there.
You could tell that there's like some sort of it felt like there was more chemistry there between them, like more like not even like romantic chemistry, just like, oh hey, I haven't seen you in a while kind of thing. I think that was really cool.
But there is definitely a lot of
There is a
romantic
lot of
chemistry there, and
romantic,
I'm all for it. Especially like the apartment scene, and like waking up the next day and she asking you what you would recommend she wears,
Mm-hmm.
and like the whole 9 yards. And I don't know, like there's something there. Even with Cloud being the shell asshole that he is right now,
Yeah.
like he even has his moments with her, like and how he cares about her, and like he talks to her differently.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's an attention that he gives to her that he doesn't give to everyone else. Like you can tell like the Cloud that's inside is kind of like, oh, I kind of want to come out but I can't.
Mm-hmm.
And like I think that's really cool as far as the characterization goes. But I'm also for the romance. It's done really well. The chemistry's done really well. I can see it being actually the long-term thing later.
Mhm.
And I think that's really cool.
Stop it, avocado! You're scaring the air of lovers.
I still love
You're
it.
gonna hate comment.
But hey, you know what? That's just what Waifu Wars is, and I
Mhm.
accept that in stride, and it is what it is. I think the introduction of like the Sephiroth clones with the reunion
Mhm.
thing, and like having one stay next door, but like also having them integrated into society was actually
Yeah.
kind of cool. Like people just kind of treat them as like, oh, like he's different or dealing
Yeah.
with something or whatever. But it's cool, and then like giving the little flashes into
Yeah.
the future.
I liked
The
kind of like how, it was like more of a humor scene, but like when Cloud goes into that next door apartment and he tries to pull out a sword and it's so big he can't pull it out
And
because
that's exactly what would happen.
yeah, I thought that was really funny. They kind of just like,
And
yeah,
Tifa's
this
like,
is
"Bro,
stupid,
calm
unprofessional,"
down.
but yeah. But yeah,
It was
so then
good.
after this, you
You do a couple side quests for the
Quests,
slums.
yeah, and then you go.
You're doing the missions with the ops.
Yeah, you go with
They were
Jesse,
watched.
Biggs, and Wedge.
Yeah, and like this is the first taste you get of Tifa's combat.
Mm-hmm.
That was really really cool. And the Doom Rats.
They're doing
The
really cool.
Doom Rats, my mortal
No,
nemesis.
those aren't the Doom Rats.
Yeah,
I
Well,
love
the
that.
rare rats and then the Doom Rats.
I liked Moral. I thought she was cool. Kind of like a mother figure for
The
Tifa.
lady?
Yeah.
Yeah.
the lady.
Well, yeah, she was
And
a good character.
I hope they do more with her.
She was funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after you do all the side quests and whatnot, then you go with Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge on like a mission
Oh yeah, to
her house.
you go to the upper plate
Yeah.
on the bikes.
I think that was cool because like you can really see like how much nicer it is compared to the slums. So I thought that was really interesting.
I liked the bike combat there.
Yeah.
I think the bike combat was done well there. Later on, different story. But and then we meet Roach for the first
Yeah.
time.
He was interesting.
I the biker guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. There just wasn't enough of him in the game to actually
Yeah.
have a stake in
He
it.
like
Yeah.
didn't exist.
Yeah,
It's
he was
just
just
kinda-
like
yeah.
kind of
Damn, I
there.
kind of forgot he existed.
Exactly.
So
But like
like
he's a cool character though, but like
Yeah.
they don't use.
Well,
him.
yeah, I know people are torn. There are
Yeah.
people that love him, people that hate him.
I
but, yeah.
I enjoyed the boss fight when you weren't on the bike. I thought that was fun
Mhm.
because like that was like your first taste of like humanoid combat in the game. But then like I hope they do more with him and that he's not just there
Yeah.
to be there for like bike sections because that's kind of lame. Because like they could do more with him because like he's another soldier.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
he's
think
so-
I like that they're opening up that door with
Yeah.
him to fight other soldiers and to slowly scale your strength.
Yeah.
Like
that'd be
he's
cool.
a third. I think he's a third or second. Was
He
he?
was like third.
I think he was. Yeah, he was a third class. So like, oh, you're starting to realize that Cloud's getting stronger. Like he's about at the third class level, and then like you get to end games. Maybe he's like high third, low second. And, like I would love for them to introduce different soldiers. Like kind of have a little taste of the good parts of Crisis Core and like integrate that the soldier culture, what it meant, like how it the Mako kind of drives people crazy, and there's like the level of deterioration in their mind and their body, and like kind of integrating that and like having Cloud kind of self introspect and being able to fight different personalities, different soldiers, different fighting styles. The fact that they opened up with that, like I think I like Roach because of that. But I'm also in the boat that just there wasn't enough of him there for me to have like an opinion about him. He's just kind of there, and like we'll see in the next game whether we fight him again or maybe we fight someone who's stronger, because now we're stronger because we're probably at second class level.
It's also interesting too because he does help out Cloud.
Yeah, because
he just wants to fight him.
He's like chaotic neutral.
Yeah.
Like that's what he is. Like, he's just there to he's there on his own agenda. He's just doing things because he feels like it and it's fun. And again, but that's cool because that plays into the part of like Mako kind of makes you go crazy, and it's like he's just whatever. He's aloof. He's doing whatever he wants, and they don't really have all their soldiers on a chain anymore since all of the first class either disappeared or died since Crisis Core, and like. I think I like that they're fleshing out the story and adding things because Crisis Core's combat was quite bad. I have to admit, Crisis Core's gameplay wasn't the greatest. I enjoyed a lot of the story elements. I know people feel how they feel about Genesis and how he was kind of a bad character, and it is what it is. But like there were a lot of story elements that added depth to the world. And to Shinra, and to what soldier meant, and what being a soldier meant, and like I think like having that a little bit incorporated into the main game, that's a good idea, But yeah, the bike combat was okay, and then the little interaction with Jesse, if you get through it with a certain amount of health, is really cool, I never got it, but
yeah, did you get it?
I don't think I did. What did she say?
No, she
kisses you on the cheek.
Oh yeah, she did. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was too bad, I guess, but I was like, but yeah.
And so then after that,
you invade the base. Oh well, no, what?
Yeah, you
No,
do.
you
invade
we
that.
go to her house
Yeah, you go to
first.
her house.
And you see her dad who's dying,
Oh yeah, and like that adding character death to Jessie was really cool.
and how she wanted to be an actress.
Yeah, the
She-
Golden
her-
Saucer, and
her
they
parents
tied
did,
that the original play that you go on the date with Tifa for into that. And I was like, whoa, that's really cool. It's a cool reference, and the fact that she's the princess.
Yeah.
But then that the fact that she gave that up because her father fell, and that really makes sense for her motivations being part of Avalanche. Like this is what Shinra did to my father. Having Mako there and like having
Overworked
poisoning
him.
him. Yeah, and he would have been able to see me. So she gave up her dreams to fight something that she believed in.
Yeah.
So like that made Jessie for me. I was like, yeah, I like her, as a full-fledged character.
Yeah, then you do the whole bike thing with invading that base, and then you meet Roche, and that mission was okay, I think.
The doggos.
Oh yeah, you fight a lot of
Yeah.
dogs.
And then Wedge gets bitten in the booty.
There's just a lot going on, especially with like the missiles. Those come back a lot.
Yeah.
I have a lot of problems with that, but we'll get there.
I like how
I like the story elements.
Yeah, the story elements were awesome, and like that '80s scene when they're parachuting, that music, and I was like, but then it hits so much harder because you're like, oh man, you guys are gonna die, and it's like, oh, and like they're like, we could take on the world, and I'm like, no, oh, it was so frustrating and sad, but it was also
my
great.
favorite moment in that chapter when Biggs and Wedge tell you about Jessie and how like she has this theory about her dad, where if she gets rid of this, like all the reactors, and her dad will come back because he's stuck in the live stream. And then Cloud tells her about it, and they're like, "Stop! No, don't."
Oh yeah.
It was funny.
Yeah, like again, like they playing on how blunt
It made
Cloud
them.
can be, and like how he doesn't have the greatest of social skills. Yeah, I mean, in Tifa's comment when you first talk to her when you get back, he's like, oh, I know you're not much of a people person. He's like, you got that right. Like I love that, But
It made it feel like there was like a lot of friendship between Jessie, Biggs, and Wedge.
Yeah, you see, like you can tell they've been like working together for a while.
Yeah, they're a team, and like that really, and it was an interesting dynamic when they were trying to force this person that is not good with people into that dynamic, and it was funny. It was good, you know. Then you head back.
You head back and
The
then you start.
parachute.
Yeah, the parachute. You head back. And then
Oh yeah,
Wedge
and
calls
oh
you
my
bro.
god, and the Jesse date thing.
Oh, yeah, and she's
man.
like, maybe you'll come to my house later.
that made me so sad.
My roommates will be gone.
Make the
Why are you guys talking about that? Are you guys not gonna talk about the fact that Wedge calls you bro?
Yeah, and then Cloud's like, no,
That's
bro.
the shit, bro.
Don't call me
And his
bro.
3 cats
Okay,
that
bro.
don't like him.
Yeah.
Oh man, no, but the Jesse scene, bro, I was like, damn. I mean, I caved in and I said, you know, can't make no promises, but I'll see what I can do. Because I mean, it doesn't really affect anything in the long run.
But what if it does?
Spoiler: she dies again. But
Hey, but we don't know.
that's a can of worms will open at the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it was just like, damn, you couldn't help but like feel that the dynamic and like feel bad and actually like feel like, man, you know, I could see him with her for a little bit, but then you remember Tifa's best wife, so it's fine. So
So then after that, I think that's when like the ghosts show up again, right?
Huh?
Next to
yeah, because you go to
Yeah.
sleep, but then Tifa visits you, and she talks about the dress thing, right?
Yeah, and then yeah, she's like we should go out on the town tonight or something.
Or like
The
go
ghosts
out
show
of town
up.
tomorrow. Or something
Yeah.
like that.
Something,
And
yeah.
then you never do, but then yeah, you asked her for the
Did we
dress.
talk about how he meets that guy next to him?
Oh yeah, we did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the reunion.
But then you go to sleep. You have a nightmare. Don't you? Do you have a nightmare, or do you
Yes.
just go straight into it?
I don't know. I think you have a nightmare.
Is it? Or he starts having some.
No, he has like flashbacks, yeah.
Yeah. And
Oh,
then,
yeah. Then pretty much after that you like.
You see
there's
the whispers
that
come and attack the
whispers.
town,
Oh, yeah.
which is very
So
interesting that
people can interact with them now.
all of Avalanche
Yeah.
could see them. Well, Jesse was there, but yeah, the fact that Barrett and everyone could see them now. Now
So-
it just wasn't you and Aerith that could see them,
Yeah.
so that was really.
And the civilians are like, what are y'all doing?
Mhm.
Oh my god, we never talked about freaking seeing Aerith for the first time with his flowers.
Yeah, we did.
You did.
She was trying to bug us. We talked about that.
Well, we said we saw it, like he saw her, and that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, they interact with us.
That's literally it. I mean, you see her, she drops
She's like,
flower,
"Come on, flower."
ghost, and then
Like,
she
yeah.
runs away, and you never see her again until you see
Like
her.
I just found it cool that they kept that from the original, that you
Yeah.
could like
Buy the flower.
buy the flower or not.
And
Well, you still end up buying it, but like you do it the hard ass way, and
Mhm.
you know I like how they still have the point system, you know, with getting cutscenes / date, whatever it is, with either Barrett, you know, Tifa or Aerith. That's
Yeah,
really cool. But
Yeah. And after that, it's pretty much you go into the second reactor.
yeah, because Jessie hurts herself.
Yeah.
And Tifa has to come, and I like how they talk about like how like Cloud notices.
Mhm.
No one else notices. Cloud notices how nervous she is,
Mhm.
and like, you know, then she like the conflict of interest.
I already remember. He remembers the memory. That with us
Oh,
kids.
yeah.
And that's why he's like, I promise to protect you when you were in trouble. And he was like, whenever I'm in trouble.
Well, that was
He
he.
wrote
No,
that.
he remembered that. Didn't he remember that in Sector 5? I thought when he was with Aerith.
No, yeah.
Yeah, he remembered that way later, and when he finally gets back, he tells her.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
But yeah, so second reactor.
yeah, the second reactor. But like, yeah, I like how they played on Tifa's like. Well, I like how that Cloud was the only one to see her that way because
Mhm.
again, the chemistry was there, and like they know each other so like well. Even despite him not being him, he still knows her, and like he could see that, and he's the one who comforts her in the train on the way to the second reactor, and I like the dynamic between him and Barrett in the train because you get to see the Shinra guys again, and they kind of make Barrett mad, and he's like, "Stop," you know, and he tells him like, "I know you're better than this," which surprises I think both him and Barrett, like that there's a friendship brewing there,
Mhm.
so that was really cool. Oh, and yeah, and then like when the drones board the ship.
Mhm.
And Tifa's telling them to go, and like the Shinra guy's like, "Why? Like, aren't you the enemy?" And like I like that, like
Mhm.
showing them that like they're not all like it's not black and white. It's never
Yeah.
black and white, and like how she doesn't want anyone to get hurt, and like how he kind of like comes around. So that was really cool. And then the jumping off the train. I love how they made Barrett afraid of heights. It is so funny, and it kind of makes sense,
Yeah.
you know. But it's so
if you
funny.
know what happens to him, then yeah.
Yeah, because he falls from the cliff when
He loses
and
a hand.
Corel, yeah, Corel.
Yeah.
So like that's really really funny. So he's afraid of jumping in heights and stuff.
Yeah.
What else is there? Oh yeah, and I love the moment the train and they fall and embrace and yes, all the yes.
Yeah. After that, you go through the train system, much like the original. We just kind of walk around, and then you end up in the reactor. Well, you go through that like whole like underneath the reactor part, right? Where you have to like turn on the lights and whatnot.
Was that second reactor? Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go through the underground system. You meet those bug things.
Yeah. I think that might
The
have
bugs.
been one part that overstayed its welcome a little bit, was that scene.
Yeah, it was cool to be above the city.
Yeah, it looked really cool.
But yeah.
Like moving the platforms and having to go turn on all the lights was like a little
looking
bit.
for the material.
Yeah, it was a little bit.
Oh
it was a
my
little
god!
much.
And the fight near the end with the 4 missile launchers.
Oh no.
Oh.
Yeah, like if you didn't have like everybody in your party has lightning materia, it was really hard.
You had to hide behind like a wall.
Yeah.
Or half of it.
My teammates died constantly, and I was just like, again, but that goes into the what? Oh man, enemies you can't stagger. Not fun.
Yeah.
Not fun. You know. But then you find Chocomok, which is super cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then again the height thing with Barrett, like freaking out by going, but then it's like no, I'm fine, and then he walks across. That was really cool. I think that's kind of that for that section.
And you end up inside the reactor.
Me Biggs.
Pigs, and you have, what was it? I was gonna say Heimerdinger. That's a leak character.
Heimdall.
I thought you were going to Heimdall.
Heimdall. That's a Smite character, but was it Heim? The beard guy.
Yeah, beard
K
character.
Digger?
Yeah, there we
Big
go.
Beard the character?
Yeah, Heidegger. He's
John?
John DiMaggio. He tells like Avalanche like, yeah, we set you up basically.
Oh, yeah.
And then Barrett's like, cool.
Oh yeah, and he starts monologuing
Yeah.
thinking he's on TV.
Yeah.
That part was funny.
Avalanche.
And then you fight the airbuster. Well, you sabotage the airbuster.
Oh, yeah,
as
you
you're
get
going
rewards.
through the avalanche
That was
or
cool.
the reactor. And then
He goes
you
to
fight-
bonding exercise before
Mhm.
by doing the
Yeah.
switch
The
pulling.
switches, yeah.
And
that
then,
was
yeah,
cool.
when you mess up there, it's like, I'm just rusty. It's
Yeah.
so funny.
And you get to the reactor. You set up the bomb or whatever.
Yeah, and the hologram version of Airbuster.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
basically you just end up fighting the actual airbuster.
That's one of the best compositions in the game.
Yeah, that song is awesome.
Oh, it's so good.
And
And then you fight Airbuster, and then you go, I'm falling.
Yeah,
with
but-
style.
And then it's almost like a beat by beat for like a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you meet an area that takes you through.
Yeah.
You fall under flowers.
Man, seeing her. Oh, but then he has the flash forwards
Mm-hmm.
of doesn't he see her at the puddle?
He
remember?
sees like
Or sees her praying.
sees
I
her
think just
praying
her
and like her bead or the prayer material like falling.
Oh yeah.
He also like talks to himself,
Oh yeah, he talks to
Yeah.
like.
which I think is like sad.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be Zach.
Oh, I don't know,
Kind
but
of.
see, but that's really a cool new thing they added. Is open to interpretation. That might be the real him because right
That's what I was
because
thinking.
right now he's kind of a pseudo Zack, not really himself
Mhm.
fusion thing. But I wonder if they're going to keep Zack being in the live stream, like, but also communicating with him through it. I wonder if they're gonna keep that, or they're gonna create this new dynamic with himself
Yeah.
and talking to himself, which is cool. You know,
Mhm.
I'm okay with that,
The new character, Cloud.
especially considering later stuff. But we'll get to that.
But then yeah, you fall into the church, you meet Aerith,
Yeah,
you fight Reno.
which is an awesome fight.
It is a fun fight.
I was like,
His
what having
stomach
children,
on.
what having children should have been with the fight between Cloud.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really good.
And then after that, you basically just walk or you just go into sector 5 with Aerith. I think it was really cool
You
seeing all
missed
the
the
people.
ghosts.
Yeah, people.
ghosts.
Yeah, the ghosts.
Yeah, the ghosts were introduced
In the
and
church.
trying to stop them from
They
dying.
help Aerith and Cloud escape.
Which makes sense considering the role, but
Yeah.
I liked Reno and his character dynamic.
Oh yeah,
like
the
how
Turks were great.
yeah,
how,
Reno
how,
freaking hates his guts and like is so salty about his defeat in
Yeah.
Cloud. So like he treats him like an asshole and it's super
that,
great.
and then just like how unsure of what they're doing.
Yeah,
I like that.
because I don't know if anyone really played before Crisis, but like the Turks really were like about kind of like the Turks. What was it? Nothing's impossible for the Turks. It's like their phrase, and like they're all about finishing the mission and doing what's right, and following the honor of the company and everything. So like, and that whole plays out like, and seeing that kind of reflect in the new characters, and kind of like, oh, like now they're questioning what they're doing because not everything's black and white, and that's super cool. This next part was where a lot of people complain about padding, where it's like, oh, this is where it becomes most noticeable. I don't find that, considering that this moment was in the original Final Fantasy with you and Aerith going across the roofs and talking. That was in the original. And I think it was kind of a refreshing slowdown.
After the boss fight.
Yeah, exactly. And like the character moments and kind of getting to know Aerith, and like her little moments and her saying shit. That was like awesome. I was like, yo, this is the 3-dimensional Aerith that I know, not the 1-dimensional Aerith that they did after the game came out and all of the Final Fantasy compilations where she's the goody two-shoe priestess. Like, I didn't like that personally. That's a personal thing, but it made her one note. This is like what she was in the original game and what she should be,
Yeah. And after that, it's just side missions in Sector 5.
Yeah.
I liked Sector 5's identity and how it was so different from 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's more wholesome.
Sectors with the kids were kind of
I
a
liked
little.
Yeah, I did like the inclusion of the orphanage though.
That was really cool, and how Biggs had a tie to it. That was cool.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah.
I didn't like going back and forth to the kids area.
Oh yeah, that was annoying.
We already talked about.
No, we talked about it earlier, but
But then after that, you fight Rude, right?
Yeah, Mr. Worldwide.
Mr. Worldwide, Pitbull. That was a fun boss fight, although that sleep spell is OP. Because you can't dodge it.
I love how he's just like a wrestler.
Yeah.
Like, he throws you around. He even pulls like a dragon throw from Dragon Ball. I was like, what? I was just laughing my ass off seeing Cloud just flying. I was like, oh my, this is happening right now. It was so great.
And then you beat him up.
Oh, I love you bake his glasses, and he always has another pair of shades. That's such a fun, it's a fun thing.
That's a little funny thing. And then you finally get to see Aerith's house.
Oh,
man, it's so pretty. They tear up, bro.
God, they really put everything into that area. It looks beautiful, and the fact that they make note of how that's the only clear water, and compared to everywhere else, which is polluted. I was like, oh my God, that's so awesome. I think they did Elmira really well. I think they really nailed her character and how she's so conflicted with, not wanting to lose Aerith after losing her husband, and the whole that whole dynamic is really good, and how she's leery of Cloud because of Zack.
Yeah.
And I think they did a really good job with that.
And she talks to the flowers.
Yeah, and then pretty much same story as the original, where you go, where Cloud's like, I want to go back to Sector 7. And it's like, I'll take you.
Yeah.
And you go.
The shortcut was cool. Yeah, and that was in the original too.
Yeah.
The shortcut, which is going through the what's it called?
The
outskirts.
Yeah. Or the tunnels or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, where the war happened.
Yeah, and then you end up in front of Sector 7, the door, and you see Tifa on the carriage.
The Chocobo carriage.
Yeah.
The original. I'm glad I picked Mature for my choice, because seeing the original dress from that game.
I liked how Aerith was just telling Cloud to go after Tifa.
Yeah.
She was like, do it!
That's where I first noticed, I was like, oh, they're really doing the dynamic a little differently. Even with the talk with them on the slide, I was she was kind of trying to see where she stands with him, but also realizing that oh, I made you depressed again. And kind of starting to realize oh, this isn't really Cloud, but also that goes into a lot of late game stuff where I feel she knows a lot more than she leads on to.
Yeah.
But this was the first time I noticed the dynamic of Aerith kind of pushing for Tifa and him
Mm-hmm.
instead of trying to vie for him. But there's still moments.
Yeah.
Still plenty of moments where like she latches onto Cloud and says mine and like
I think it's
like,
her
yeah.
being more playful and trying to get that reaction out of him and Tifa.
Yeah, like trying to create the jealousy and create
Mhm.
the dynamic to like, oh man, make a move, like
Yeah.
do something, like, and I think she does, she succeeds because I feel like Tifa's a lot more bold in this game too.
Yeah.
Which I'm so,
And then, yeah, so you have that. So then you have the wall market section.
which is awesome.
Which is, I enjoyed the inclusion
It's
of
so
like
pretty.
of Corneo's like 3
Oh yeah,
people.
they were actually kind of characters.
Yeah,
I like the
I
back
like that.
streets too. Like there's tunnels you can walk through, and people
Yeah,
be
it
like,
really
"You
felt
ain't
like-
get through here."
It really felt like the shady part
Yeah.
of town, like, but like and like all the music and the lights and
Mhm.
the different districts and like the Asian district, and the honeybee district.
Mm-hmm.
The
And
honey.
then you have the whole Johnny side quest.
Oh yeah,
Which-
like reflecting the original.
Oops. Yeah. Like Johnny is an interesting character. Like at first I thought he was really annoying, but then I thought he was actually kind of funny.
He's
And
interesting.
he kind of grew on me.
I
He
loved
reminded
him,
me of
though.
Larry Butz from Phoenix Wright, like real heavily.
I don't know. I loved him just because I love Yuri Lowenthal. Like, oh man, Ben 10, bro. Like, no, and his he really proved his voice acting chops in Spider-Man. Like,
Mhm.
damn, he nailed that. And like that's why I still love him. As annoying as his characters may be, like that's just typecasting, so that's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, Johnny was like really funny and like kind of like pulled Cloud out of his shell in his way, in his
Yeah.
own way, like making him remember when you're getting the sauce and like only real men know, only real men can get the sauce. And he's like, I know. And I was like, oh, this is great. Cloud's kind of like finally going along with things. And, like,
he kind of gives Cloud that kind of like masculine.
Bro energy.
Yeah, that bro energy,
And
which
then
I think is
the
interesting.
opposite side quest.
Yeah, you have what?
nada.
You have
M.
the sensual energy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
That whole
Did
cutscene.
we all do the
Like
The deluxe
expensive,
massage.
yeah.
Yeah,
Luxury,
why wouldn't
yeah.
I?
that was really funny.
Oh, just seeing Cloud put in such an uncomfortable position.
Yeah.
You're just like,
It was the sex scene that you weren't gonna get, but you got it anyways.
Yeah.
Like it was just kind of like perfect.
she was like, "Is that a moan?" I was like, "Oh."
I love Madison.
Yeah.
And then I love like when he comes back and he plays Aerith, and Aerith's like, "What happened?"
Yeah, I like the added trio like
Yeah.
Madam M, Chocobo Sam, and
Andre.
Uh,
Me. But, and then so like you have the Coliseum.
oh,
That was fun.
that was super.
I like the
dude. That gave me
Colosseum.
big Tekken vibes.
Yeah.
And with the announcers.
I think
and
I love how
everything.
like when you beat somebody, they do the original
The victory
poses.
poses, that was really fun. And then you do that, then you have then you do the, what was it? Oh, then you do the honeybee and stuff. Right?
Oh,
Well, you have to do Chocobo Sam's things, and then you
Yeah.
get the house,
and then
and then you go, yeah.
I find it so awesome though that like this is like all the people like Maximilian mentioned this once like how this was the one monster that everyone was like there's no way they're gonna put this in. They can't, like it's just too weird, it's just too how are they gonna do it, and they made it a freaking boss fight. Like I like,
Yeah.
it's so funny like how they fit it in some way shape or form. Like that was
Yeah.
super awesome.
And then same way for the whole like cross-dressing scene from the original where people
They
were
embraced
like,
it.
yeah, they
There
were
was
like,
no-
oh yeah, they're not gonna do it. It's too out there for nowadays. And instead they went even more out
They
there.
had a music number, a rhythm game.
That dancing mini game, like it was just so like it caught me so off guard. Man. Like
It
I
started playing
enjoyed it.
voguing music when he was getting the makeover. I was like, yes.
I was all for it. I was like, dude, go big or go home. It was
Yeah.
awesome. Like,
It was
It was
cool to
fun.
see them embrace
It
it.
was
You
fun
could
because
feel, yeah.
because like that part of the game was supposed to just be like cheeky.
The calm
fun.
before the storm.
Yeah, and then they really nailed that. Where it was just cheeky. It was really corny, really campy, just fun.
Everyone catcalling Aerith.
Yeah.
And then when you go into your dress,
It
everyone
was
catcalls
catcalling
you.
you.
God.
It was just fun.
Yeah, like I don't know. I know people feel some sort of way, like oh, like this is just another one of those agendas, and well, I'm like,
Oh?
but it was fun.
Yeah,
Like
it's a good game.
it was just a fun time. Like I don't know, I enjoyed it. Just seeing Aerith like Aerith was hyperventilating. Just she was all
Bro,
for
I
the
mean,
female Cloud. I was
I mean,
laughing my ass off.
Cloud's dance moves were pretty fire though.
Yeah.
He was going ham.
He started doing the disco with Andrea.
I was like, yes,
Yeah,
please.
him and Andrea they were popping off. It was good. I liked it.
Bro, maybe Zach had the dance moves. You
Maybe,
don't know that?
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You
Maybe
never
that's
saw
why
it.
Aerith was all.
She was like, oh.
Yeah.
She's like, that's what I fell in love with. Oh man, that was so good.
And after that, you got the Corner Mansion.
Which
I'm
was
so glad they kept the original dialogue.
Oh my god, yeah, I'll rip them
Yeah,
off.
if you don't speak, I'll
crush
cut them off.
Cut them off.
Like I didn't think like that was something I didn't think they'd keep like line for line, but they did.
They
and
really
it made
did.
me really happy.
He was like, oh.
Oh, and like when Tifa and Aerith are saved by Jesse. What's his name again? Leslie. Yeah, like and like he brings the stuff for them, and that remix
Of Tifa's
was
scene.
so fire.
I just like how they beat the guys up in their dresses.
No,
They were like,
it was that was a really awesome scene, and like that remix should be in Tekken. That's all I'm saying. Like that, it was such a Tekken song.
Yeah.
God.
What did you guys think of Leslie?
He's interesting. Is there like a development till the end?
Who was Leslie?
The white haired guy.
The one who's
Oh, I knew it from the start. I'm like he seems like an odd one, but he has character. He's gonna be important.
Yeah, I definitely like as far as like that section of Corneo was like it.
Yeah.
Like Corneo was perfect.
you really nailed how ugly he is.
They nailed just how flamboyant, but also they nailed the side like this man's a mob boss.
Yeah.
He knows his shit. Like he knows what he's doing. Like, and he was done perfect.
The question. What time?
Oh, yeah, and, like-
I reveal.
Oh yeah, like
plan.
how the question can time
Yeah.
out, and
Yeah.
then you just like it was like time too late, and he just goes in. It's so funny. I'm like, oh, I love it. It was just perfect.
And then you go down the sewer.
Braps, right? Braps, his pet.
I don't know.
No.
Oh, the one of those sewer water. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
I
fight.
remember.
Weak to
That was-
fire.
That was a good fight.
Yeah, it was fun.
The
I like
second
how
one
when it was on
more
fire,
fun.
we go into the water. It's funny.
Oh yeah, I did not know to dodge the water the first playthrough. So like my whole team just went and like they just died, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I like maybe I don't know, maybe I'm just stupid and that was telegraphed, but it was a fun fight.
I was over the sewer. They go to the sewer. They turn the power on.
Oh yeah, cause Corneo's like, oh, they're gonna drop the plate, and so you gotta
Oh, yeah,
go
they
back
try
to
to get
Sector
back,
7.
Yeah.
But then you end up going to the train graveyard.
Yeah, the ghosts.
Oh, before that, I like how they like kind of played on Tifa's worry and like denial. Like she's like, there's no way they're gonna do it.
Yeah.
There's just no way. Like Shinra's not that evil, and like kind of like that
Yeah.
torn. Like she could tell she's torn, and deep inside she knows what they did to her. Obviously they would do that, but
Well, in a
she
way
wanted to be hopeful.
Yeah, in a way she kind of reverts back to what she felt like when she was out or
Yeah, exactly. So like that was really cool, and then like kind of Aerith trying to console her, but also like Tifa starting to notice Aerith knows a lot more than she knows. Like
Yeah.
she's saying it's like what are you not telling us?
That whole ghost part was just interesting.
Yeah.
Like how Aerith.
I like how they made the train graveyard a thing. Like it wasn't just you go through.
Yeah, I did like the supernatural stuff. I didn't really care much for like kind of the whole like kids disappear here thing. I thought that was kind of unnecessary. But like the fact that there are ghosts, because you do fight ghosts in the original, I think that was cool.
I like how in the combat you could use healing stuff.
Yeah.
Like
And it was
down,
killing.
revives, and like it would insta kill them. Like that's super awesome that they carried that over from the original.
I like the boss fights for that section.
I'm still confused what the ghost showing Aerith crying by herself was supposed to do.
Oh no, it was just I think it was trying to take advantage of her sadness so that it could capture her. Like that,
Maybe.
I think it was just trying to break her down. Like I don't think it was meant to be anything more than that.
And hide and seek.
Yeah,
That's kinda
or
sad,
maybe it was
though.
just kind of like to give you a bit more
Oh,
backstory.
and making that enemy a boss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like that was such a cool reference. And the fact that you could steal the weapon from him,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
like in the original, that was like wow, they really thought about that.
And they developed a lot more of like her Cetra powers to like showcase she can see ghosts.
Since we talked, You know, she could talk to a lot of things, not flowers. Though. You know.
Yeah, and then after that, you end back in Sector 7, and that's the whole like pillar
Yeah.
section.
And they see Wedge, right?
Yeah,
He's
falls.
My boy.
And then Tifa and.
Well, that was scary. Like
Yeah.
I thought that was it. Like I thought because that's how he died in the original. He just died. I was like, oh, well, okay then. But now that I cared about him, I was like,
He has the power of grappling hook.
and then he went and he didn't die, and I was like, oh god.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe the other two could survive. And then they made me sad.
Hey, not necessarily.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, at that moment.
Exactly.
That moment-
At the moment, I was
Yeah,
like,
the climbing and how Tifa was worried about them.
yeah.
And there was so much character development in the scene, going up and
Cloud
seeing
going
Cloud
up.
kind of start to break his mold and
Mhm.
actually care about people when he's finally
When he
losing
met
them.
Biggs and he was,
Mhm.
it's like, it's my time's up. He's like, your time's not up. You're gonna be okay.
Yeah,
I was like,
he's really and Biggs makes a comment and I'm like, wow, that really stuck, he's like, you're not one for kids, are you? He's like, no, and it's like, it's so funny because you're so much like them, and I'm like, for me, I was like, damn, he's right, Cloud and Tifa are not
old, yeah.
they're not old,
Yeah.
and they went through a lot, they didn't really have their childhood, they got that taken away from them.
Mhm.
So him making that note kind of hit Cloud too, and I was like, wow, that's. And then he pet his head, and I was like, wow, man.
Yeah, he was kind of a short-lived father figure.
And I was like, damn, that was really really good. And then we got to, the next part we get Tifa on board.
Yeah, because she comes.
Yeah, she could, and,
You're on the helicopter.
and that little semi-flirtatious moment, he's like, you're crazy. He's like, just like you. It's like, oh my god,
And then you see
he likes it, and it's just so funny.
You see Katsuya and Jessie throwing the grenade,
Mhm.
and she's like, I never miss.
Yep.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, Jessie, you truly don't miss. And then you climb up 2 floors, and she's slumped.
Oh my god, that was so tragic that she felt that she died knowing that oh man, it was my fault the reactor blew up when it was Shinra that did it, and it's you could have told her something, Cloud.
Yeah, that's the same. She talked about her dad too.
Oh yeah, and it's man, it was just so sad just because, and you could tell Cloud really still cared about her.
all of them.
Yeah, and you stole me pizza. I'm like, oh man, and just seeing her worried that Tifa was crying, oh, did I do something wrong?
Tifa was
And,
big sad.
that was just such a sad moment. I was like, man, they really nailed this.
And then they go up, and you meet. Well, you
You
don't
meet
meet
Mr.
Barry yet.
Worldwide.
You meet Mr. Worldwide.
Oh yeah, and how Rude's they still kept that he has a thing for Tifa, so he pushes the helicopter out of the way so that Reno doesn't hit her, and he's like, oh, hand slipped. I was like, that's so fucking funny. I was like, that's it. I was like, yes, that was
So then you get chased by a helicopter, and then you go up, then you meet Barrett, and then the bomb.
And then
And you
you
fight
go
them.
all the way up.
That
And you
fight was
Ruth
cool, and the fact that Reno uses
and-
pyramid,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that was freaking cool. They had a cool callback.
Pyramid. I'm stuck.
What's this?
And then they fight, and then the bomb goes kaboom.
And then the plate falls.
Oh, and then that's where I was I started to come up with the theory oh man, that these things are kind of trying to keep the main timeline because they because they were around Biggs and Jesse when they died.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
So I was like, oh, they're
But
trying
then,
to keep the
yeah.
timeline the same, and then they prevented Tifa from stopping the plate falling by keeping her away and letting Rude go in. I was like, oh, that's where I started to be like, yeah, maybe these things are trying to keep the original timeline.
Yeah.
But it was cool. The ziplining scene afterwards was really really pretty. Oh, and that's the first time we see Cake Sith.
Oh yeah, because he goes, I couldn't get there in time.
It was sad.
That's kind of interesting though.
I like how
Mhm.
they're kind of building up to Reeve feeling this way even before he's
Controlling.
good.
things.
Well, yeah, before he infiltrates Avalanche. I think
Mhm.
that's kind of cool that they're playing on that now. oh, maybe he's gonna turn earlier.
Well, I just thought it was
You know?
interesting that he was there because it shows that Reeve was like willing to stop them.
Willing
From
to
doing
at least try.
Yeah,
or
at least
something,
try. He just couldn't get there in time.
which is really cool.
Yeah, it just goes like shows more of that moral ambiguity that like
Yeah.
the Turks and Reeve have.
Yeah, they're like, are what we doing is really good for the people,
Yeah.
considering we just lost millions of
I
lives.
feel like in this game they're trying to push Reeve being a good guy more.
Oh
Which
yeah,
makes sense.
definitely, because he was him talking out during meetings and all
Mhm.
that jazz.
I
But
thought that was cool. That makes it a more
yeah.
interesting character.
Oh my god, the Barrett moment.
When he's like,
Afterwards.
Molly!
Oh, that was tearing me up. I was like, damn, man, this is real human Barrett, man. Like, he was distraught, and like Jesse and Biggs and like, oh yeah, and, like they also played Antifa's moral ambiguity again. It's like, we did this.
Yeah.
This is us, and like how like him being like the surrogate father figure for her. He's like, don't think like that, and like consoling her despite him dealing with what he's dealing with. It was just a really beautiful character moment.
Seeing like Barrett tell Cloud, like, just give me hope. That
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, like
I
give me
like
something,
that.
and he's like, "Oh, who am I kidding? I'll tear your head off." That was just like,
It
yep,
was so funny. It was
that's
like,
Barrett.
That's Barrett.
But it was also cute that Cloud like would still tell him. He's like,
Mhm.
"Oh yeah, Marlene might be safe," like
Oh yeah,
that. He cares enough. He cares enough to at least mention that.
We forgot to talk about Aerith saving Marlene.
Oh
And
my
then she
god,
shows
that was a
Marlene
big moment.
The
Yeah,
mysterious thing.
yeah. Like how like she shows like what started getting me into theorizing that like, oh, this definitely is an Aerith that either knows what happened in the original timeline or is that timeline's Aerith is that she knew who Marlene's name was. And I get people are like, oh yeah, but she heard her name in
Tifa told her her
T-
name.
but when you look back, that's just some girl's name.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't tell Aerith who that was, but she just knew when Tifa was like, "Go save." Oh, Marlene, and when she goes to save Marlene, she mentions that like Marlene mentions Daddy, and she's like, "Oh yeah, Barrett." No one ever told her that.
Mm-hmm.
No, there was no mention, and like and you can go big brain calculating. Oh, she just deduced that. That's a little.
I mean, it could be either
Yeah,
way.
especially
She could either
because-
deduce it or
It
she
could be either way, but
I mean,
for me,
considering
yeah.
Barrett's a big black guy and Marlene's a small little white girl.
It's definitely hard to kind of make that.
I mean, it's not Tifa's
Yeah.
child, it's not
Yeah.
Cloud's child.
So that's when I started theorizing. Oh man, she definitely knows something. And then she shows Marlene something, and then Marlene goes wide-eyed, stops crying, and like, oh shoot. And then she like starts smiling, and then hugs her and says, "You smell nice." Like she obviously saw something. That's definitely showed her something, and what that something is, I don't know, but it was also a really really crushing moment when like Marlene was like, they're taking away our home, like and
Mhm.
like that bonding moment between her and Aerith. That was like, they made Marlene way too cute for this game. Like God.
I like how Aerith went to go save Marlene's friend. She didn't even care. She's like, I'm gonna save you.
Oh yeah.
It showed how nice of a person she is.
Well, it shows who Aerith really is, And but yeah, that's those scenes were cool. And then after this, you go back to
Barrett's
Sector
house.
5.
Yeah.
Yeah, you meet with Elmira again because to see Marlene, and like I think the flashback with Aerith's mom was
Mhm.
really cool. Aerith's mom was really pretty, looked a lot like her, and like it was kind of cool to see like that flashback and like finally like what's it called? Then we also see like how Elmira's worried, like please don't make it any worse. Like she's kind of like in denial in the fact that like, oh, maybe they'll
And she wants to sit still.
yeah, they'll let her come back
Mhm.
once everything's all done. But that's and Cloud knows better than anyone. Like that's far from it. You know,
Mhm.
like that's just not how Hojo works.
Well, she like fell into her old pattern of like waiting. Because when her
Yeah,
husband was in trouble, she just waited for him.
oh, that's a really good observation. Yeah, just going back to old habits.
Mhm.
But that was really cool. And oh yeah, and then that's when that's when you can get both the Barrett and the Tifa scene there.
Mhm.
Actually, you can get the Aerith scene there too, which is kind of surprising. But the Tifa scene was like, man, that one got to me. Like just like her talking about like how like they took everything from us again, and like talking about like how Shinra's how Shinra's affected her life and like.
Well, plays into her remembering.
Yeah, and like
Past.
and, like the fact that like Cloud was kind of like finally like. Real Cloud was kind of surfacing finally, unconsciously, like when he went to hug her, and he just like the emotions kind of finally just flooded out, and he started hugging her hard. That like he hurt her, like that was like, and he was surprised in his own face, like because he didn't even realize it, that like that was kind of him, really him, you know. So that was really cool. The Aerith scene's really good too, and kind of leads into the theory that Aerith knows more than she leads on to.
I didn't see that.
I didn't got it either.
It's like Aerith kind of talks to Cloud and it's like, please don't fall in love with me. She tells him straight up, and it's like, oh man, like and like there's like live stream I think flowing, like the tendrils floating around, but like I'm like wow, like because I think she knows.
But she's gonna die.
Well, she knows either she's gonna die or that's Zack, it's not him, you know. But I think it's more so that she's gonna die. But again, that things might be changing. But you know. But the Barrett scene's really good too. She talks to Marlene. I mean, he talks to Marlene, and like they have a little moment together, and it's really good. It's really cute. But then what's after that? It's the side quest time, right? Oh no, wait, saving Wedge.
Oh yeah,
Underground
in
in
the
the-
laboratory.
Oh yeah.
And you see the xenomorphs.
the Sobo Barretts.
That was fun.
Oh, Solar Bear and then
made
Bear and
Bear feel like a
Tifa.
badass.
Oh yeah, baby.
Tifa freaking does a backflip into Barret and then he flips her again.
It was so awesome, man.
Yeah, that was cool.
Kind of playing off of that Barrett Tifa dynamic that we never got to like really delve into in the original game. So like they got their own moment, and like that was really cool.
And then Cloud shows up and then Cloud learns a little bit more about Soldier, but not enough to where he can be like.
Because the spirits stop him.
Yeah.
Because he's not supposed to
Where he
learn.
can be like, wait a minute, but then he has flashbacks. So.
Yeah, so that's really cool. But yeah, and then it becomes side quest city.
Side quest city,
the end game.
I like a lot of the side quests.
Very interesting.
I like the Chocobo one just also because the reward was fucking kick ass. Having free Chocobo rides anywhere, that helped so much with all the other side quests.
Well, actually, before the side quest, you do the. Do you do the sewer thing again? With Leslie?
You can do the side quests,
Oh yeah.
then the sewer to finish the last side quest.
Mhm.
Yeah, and
But
then you
yeah,
can't do anything else.
I liked the Chocobo one. I liked the.
I like the behemoth fight.
Oh yeah, the
That was
Behemoth
really
fight
cool.
was.
I like the old
awesome.
lady one.
Oh yeah, the angel.
When you find out she's like the
Angel of the
Sons,
Suns or
yeah.
whatever, and like you go on this wild goose chase, and then you get the Kyrie, you need the key to get Johnny's stuff back, and then
His
you gotta
wallet.
go back to the Coliseum, which is kind of cool with having Tifa and Barrett, so you see their animations. But what's it called? That was a really cool side quest, and finding Corneo's loot and stuff, and
the sewer with Leslie and having his little.
yeah, I know not a lot of people liked that section, but I'm like, it was okay.
I wasn't different. I mean, I don't really care about him.
It was big annoying with the freaking thing, the little pig thing.
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, that's the offspring of his pet.
Abzu.
Abzu.
Yeah, man.
I'm
Oh yeah,
right
Braps
away.
is like the bird at Wutai, I think. That's his other pet or something. I think it's been a long time. But yeah, that little side. I mean, it was endearing.
There's not much
I
story.
like the Corneo part though.
Yeah.
Like he was like a badass. Like freaking
Oh,
took
he
the gun
tries to
from him.
shoot him,
I'm like,
yeah.
yeah, this man's a fucking mob boss.
Yeah.
Like he can kick your ass.
He said, "Psych, that's the wrong number."
Yeah, and then he gets away again.
Like having Leslie's little character development. I hope they don't just like brush.
I
him
hope
off
it's
as a
another side
character.
quest. Like
Yeah,
later on,
With his
maybe
fiance.
maybe you see him in like Junon or something,
Yeah.
trying to track down Dawn or something like that. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Like a little recurring thing.
Yeah, and he finds her near the end of disc 2 or something. Like that'd be cool.
Bro, like Artorias, bro. You find your homie throughout the store and you're like, hey man, what's good?
And then he dies.
That's next.
After that, after you do all the side quests and stuff, then it's
You go back. You go up the wall.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
The
there's-
guns.
Oh yeah.
there's
Seeing like all the destruction
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
like falling while you're up there.
And
Yeah.
yeah, like
The
the
grab.
mid plate and like seeing the construction and like
Mhm.
the sunset was really nice looking.
the grappling hook.
Well, and that's the first time you fight soldiers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like they were like below third class. I think they're just regular soldiers. but-
Yeah.
So, like that was really cool, or they might be third. But it was super awesome, like fighting them and like adding a new combat element. Did not like the robots.
They were
I did
inky.
not like the robot boss.
Oh,
Oh,
The
that was really
Insico
hard.
robot. Oh no.
Like you have to get the laser to hit him when he has the barrier on, but that means you have to get close to him and stay close to him while getting shot. It was just a lot, and I was like, man, this kind of sucks.
yeah.
But the world around it was really cool looking.
Yeah.
Um,
And after you go through all that like grappling hook stuff, then you end up inside the actual tower.
Shinra Tower.
Oh
Power
yeah.
Rangers.
Oh, before that, the grappling hook situation where they almost died.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was so anime.
It was a prelude to what was going to happen next.
Tifa shot it and then Barry grabs it.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, okay. But I'm like, yeah, this is Final Fantasy. This is fun. This is fun.
Yeah.
But then we go to Shinra building. Man, the scale there, like standing outside of it, I was
Yeah.
like, whoa.
Going in, like the parking lot wherever you are, fighting all the soldiers was interesting.
Made it feel like an actual building
Yeah.
that you're infiltrating.
Yeah. And like the moment when you're inside, like, Tifa has to do the parkouring. It's kind of almost reflective of when you had to climb up to the plate in the original with the swinging. And I kind of saw that. I was like, oh, okay. So this is kind of what they're tying that to. And you almost fell. And I love when you fall, and then Cloud comes running
Yeah.
to the side. It's like, Tifa! And I'm like, yup, that's my boy. Oh, that was such a funny moment.
Yeah. And then after that, you have the stairs
Oh,
or the elevator.
You'd be a fool not to pick this.
The stairs, it was so good.
The battle theme for the stairs.
Made their own battle over the stairs, man. That
Tifa's
was
the
so
only one that
funny.
wins the race.
Yeah, I just like how you gradually slow down as you go up the stairs just to show how tired they are
Yeah.
while they're like about to do this big infiltration
And
mission.
the back
They're
and
just-
forth
yeah.
with Cloud and Barry, and like how Tifa's like, could you guys stop? And like you can see like Cloud's like inner child, and I was like, but Tifa, like that was super funny. And what else? Oh yeah, and like they finally get. Well, no, like they're close to getting to the top, and like Barrett's like, "Fuck this! I want to go back." Like when he went down the stairs again, it was just such a funny. Oh man, that was such a good moment. I love
They made them
that.
feel like people.
Yeah, and like they got to the top, and they're like, and they just sit there for like a solid
Yeah.
30 seconds. That was so funny, man. Oh, and like at the bottom, like I love at the bottom when you get there first scene, like the Barrett's like, "You have got to be shitting me." Like, I was like, oh man, the Barrett's kind of like the player. If you really think about it, it's kind of the player's reactions to everything.
He's the comedic relief.
I love him. But yeah, the stairs are perfect. The elevator had a good scene too. Like you kind of go up the different floors and fight people who go up. And like it's funny because like Cloud has his sword at ready, and like it's just a random person who's there. He's like, and then like, it closes again, and people's like, oh yeah, regular people working. So like that was funny. But yeah, like the beginning of Shinra was really done well, I think. You know, and then we go. We go through the simulations and
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah,
we gotta go through the tour, the
Mhm.
virtual tour.
The music.
That was cool.
And you get to see them as the Power Rangers.
Yeah, the
And all their symbols,
Each
the different
Shinra
color
has a
symbols.
symbol.
Oh man, seeing Hojo for the first time, man.
Oh, he's so
Greasy,
gross.
man. The
Greasy,
But like
foldy.
he's supposed to be.
Oh man, they really made him look like
How
a
does-
menacing.
How does that give birth to Sephiroth? Man, genes, they're wild.
Well, I mean, also.
I mean, Lucretia's kind of pretty, I guess.
I
Yeah,
guess.
that's the point. She's supposed to be like really pretty, and that's why Vincent wants that booty.
And then you
Calling
know
Sephiroth pretty.
No, his mom.
So Sephiroth's pretty.
Yeah, I mean, he's
he's a pretty boy.
he is a pretty boy.
Him and Cloud are pretty boys.
He's
They
got
really are.
good
Good
eyes. With his cat eyes.
His cat eyes. That'd be
No,
so
shark
weird in
eyes,
real
stop
life.
With like one slitted eyes.
Yeah.
They'd be kind of scary.
Imagine his eyelids closed sideways, like.
Yeah,
Now that would be tragic.
it gives him night vision. He goes,
But the tour was cool. Seeing like how inflated President Shinra's ego was.
Yeah,
like
like-
how he had the museum for himself.
I got like the many details. You can see like old pictures of him when he was younger.
And you saw the guy with the mask, right?
Yeah, possibly Shinra from Final Fantasy X,
Yeah.
which was interesting because that's like a big fan theory of like those two games being connected, and they kind of. I mean, like you can't really tell because the camera's so zoomed out, but like I'm sure somebody will go in and
That'd
zoom
be
in and
interesting.
see what it actually.
Yeah, people are already accessing assets and stuff.
Yeah.
So, like it's about time. Yeah.
But yeah, so then you
Oh, you meet the pro.
You
Oh
meet-
wait, you go through that weird like the soaring fucking ride.
Oh, yeah, you go through, like,
that was
the
cool.
visual
And then
thing.
Cloud has that vision of Sephiroth
Well,
killing
I think
Barret
it's
and
implied that
Tifa.
everybody sees it.
No,
no,
I'm
it
pretty sure
isn't.
Cloud was the only one that
The
saw
way-
it, yeah.
Okay.
Because after that, Barret was like, whoa, this was interesting simulation or something.
That was really pretty.
Yeah.
And
No,
Cloud's
yeah.
like, I don't know.
It was
about that.
really really cool to see the Cetra
Mm-hmm.
and like the original world.
They look like Dragon
yeah.
Quest
Yeah.
NPCs.
It reminded me of what like the earlier Final Fantasies would look like now.
Yeah.
Well,
Like,
that was,
grasslands and like.
if you believe in that theory that all Final Fantasy games are connected, that would make a lot more
Yeah.
sense.
I just really liked how like it felt like you were kind of like at like SeaWorld or something. And, like it felt like
Yeah.
a SeaWorld ride. So they did a really good job with that.
It was
Yeah.
cool seeing Shiva just in nature.
Mm-hmm.
And Shiva
Roaming
Bahamut
around.
and
Yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah.
that was really cool. And but yeah, in the scene where like Sephiroth comes and like meteors coming down, I was
Mhm.
like, holy shit! And then like Cloud gets those flash forwards,
Mm-hmm.
and like I was like,
He was
whoa!
like a weapon.
And then like I'm scared because I really hope this is not a foreshadowing. Like he cuts down Barret, and then he cuts down Tifa, and I'm like, please.
Yeah.
I mean, we already saw what happened to Barret.
Yeah.
Man got stabbed.
He got slapped.
Yeah.
But
so-
yeah, and then after that we meet the mayor.
the-
Mayor Domino.
It's
Yeah.
AKA Xehanort with a mustache.
It was fun.
I like how he was just like, it's so tired of it. He
Yeah.
was like, bro.
But like it made so much more sense that like they had an inside man.
Yeah.
Like that was a good
I
addition
mean,
to
they're
the
fighting.
story.
They're basically fighting a war.
Well, yeah, like the fact that they have an inside man, it makes sense that like they didn't have to walk through lots and lots and lots and lots of guards
Yeah.
because he was kind of guiding their way through
Yeah.
it. You know, having an avalanche. Like that was a cool twist. I was
Mhm.
like, okay, that's cool. And then what's his name? What was the butler's name?
I don't know.
Walter?
He gives you a gun.
Something like that.
Yeah. Then you have to
Yeah.
go to that little scene where you have to ask people, and Cloud's just like, the mayor.
Oh yeah, that was so funny.
I'm sad because I did that. I just did it on the right guy for this, so I
Oh.
didn't get to hear any other dialogue. So I just went
So
to the
sad.
mayor, and he was
The
like,
mayor.
"It's great."
Oh,
Right,
yeah,
girl?
this guy's just sleeping.
Yeah.
The mayor. He just keeps sleeping. I'm like, what? Why would you do that? What the heck? Oh, I love it. It's just so ridiculous. Oh, and then you get we get to see the scene with Scarlet for
Mm-hmm.
the first time. That was Boobs the character.
Yeah,
Uh,
Boob's the character.
you
Frog the
get-
character.
Her theme kind of slaps though.
Her theme
Yeah.
slaps, just like how Tifa slaps her. God.
That's later though.
Right.
And after that, you
We're nearing the end game.
yeah, then you get to the lab. To the
Oh, just
lab.
lab, man.
Yeah.
They nailed that. They made it a
It's
whole ass
nasty.
world.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was awesome.
Yeah. It made,
His
it,
secret lab.
made it really feel like it was gross and stuff that should not be happening there was
Oh
happening.
yeah,
there.
you get red.
Yeah.
And
Red 13.
First introduction to Red, man.
Red
Oh
Spirit.
wait, we skipped that boss fight, huh?
Oh yeah.
There's
That
not.
weird
weird
Cthulhu
mutant thing.
looking.
It's not much.
Yeah.
Yeah, the weird
It's
Cthulhu
just
looking
big
boss
alien
fight.
thing.
Yeah, and then the first time they see Hojo and Red 13, but it was cool. Like, and then they have the
Oh yeah, and then
well,
Eric
that
shows-
character moment with Cloud seeing Sephiroth's feather.
Oh yeah. Then you also like sees
Yeah.
Genova.
Yeah, and see Genova, and he says mother.
Yeah, that was interesting.
I was like, whoa. Well, I mean,
What
the
makes sense.
it's the S cells,
Mhm.
and you know,
He's
like,
a fifth pawn.
so like that's really really cool that they were seeing that. What's it called? But oh yeah, and then does he have that moment where like on the like the next moment is when he sees Sephiroth and he passes out, I think,
Mhm.
and then they bring them to Aerith's room and they have that little moment. And, like it was really cool and intimate to see like, oh, this is where Aerith grew up when she
Mhm.
was a subject to Hojo. Like that's where her and her mom were, and like seeing the painting on the wall and having Aerith talk about the Cetra and how everyone was concerned with Cloud and
Mhm.
like Tifa's like really concerned about Cloud, and I was like,
We skipped Red 13 getting shown what the ghosts are.
Well,
well,
is
that's
this-
during the scene.
Is
No.
this before or after you get to the top of the tower?
This is before.
Or
Because
before
Aerith has
Prohibition
to
was?
calm him down. Remember that happens before this.
Well, yeah, he didn't, but they didn't talk about the ghost until they're in the room.
Well, she still calms him down.
Oh
with
yeah.
her powers.
Oh yeah, like he's a friend or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
And-
yeah, you definitely know what's going on.
Well, like, it also seems like she makes, like, shows, like, with Red 13 and Marlene, it seems like Aerith shows, like, them what happened.
Yeah, what happened in the original timeline, and that's and, like,
she
and
shows him
his
like,
knowledge of the
like-
whispers and all that
Yeah.
stuff. He's like, I got it from Aerith. So I'm like, oh, okay. But yeah, and like they talk about the whispers finally, and they reveal that like, oh yeah, they're arbiters of fate, and like they're trying to keep the main timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah. I'm like, again,
Yeah,
we already
yeah.
had that talk, and we know how we feel about it. But it was just it was a cool moment, like having that there. And Wedge comes,
Yeah.
helps them out, and talks
And
about
he
how
goes,
the
"My
helicopter's
heart."
coming. Then after that, that's when they finally confront Sephiroth, because they find that he took Genova, right?
Mhm.
Oh no, wait, no, because they still have to fall through and go through the whole.
President.
Yeah, they have to go through the whole laboratory thing.
The secret one with the man in the jar.
Oh yeah, and like those mini boss fights
Mm-hmm.
were really actually I enjoyed.
They fight Big Fish
Other
Man.
than the one,
from the
other than the
original.
one with Tifa and Aerith, those dogs.
Yeah.
Did not enjoy those dogs.
The poison dogs.
No. But how they added the what was that? The fish enemy's name.
I don't know.
don't
It's like-
remember.
Fishbot. I don't know.
But it was cool because like it was an original.
Oh, that, like, yeah, like blade fish or something.
Yeah, so yeah, like it was original enemy in the original
Yeah.
Shinra tower.
Mhm.
So like, and they added that as a little mini boss fight. That was really cool, you know, and how like you split off in different teams.
Mhm.
I think they were experimenting with how maybe the P.S.S is gonna work
Yeah.
in part 2, and they introduced Red and his mechanics. Hey, interesting fun fact: Red is playable if you have like save states.
Yeah.
Like I saw, like there's a video of like you can like he's fully fleshed out.
Mhm.
Like you can play, you just can't change his equipment, but he's a playable party member. And I'm
Mhm.
like, whoa, that's kind of cool. So like his moveset's already done.
How do you play it, Sam?
Well, you can't do it naturally.
Oh.
Like, but like people have already like kind of gotten into the source code and like figured stuff out with save states, and they figured out that he's playable.
Mm.
But again, like it made sense that they didn't go all in for him because it's the end game. Why would they have a full fleshed out character for literally the last chapter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I got it, I understood. I was admittedly disappointed, but I understood.
He'll probably be playable in the next game.
Oh, he's definitely gonna be playable because he's done.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and then we go into the
Oh, you go through the drum,
yeah,
and you go through all that, and then you confront Hojo again,
yeah,
and he almost spills the beans on the experiments and stuff.
yeah,
And
Wait a
then
minute,
goes-
you're not a soldier.
And Whisper's like, no, you can't do that.
yeah. And then he gets taken by the Whisperers.
And then I think you finally climb up to the top of the tower after that.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you see the goop from Genova.
Oh, yeah.
from-
And then you fight.
I
Genova?
I know people were like, oh my god, they totally ruined it. It wasn't the blood like the original. They totally downplayed the horror. And I'm like, well, Raven systems are a lot harsher in Japan.
Mhm.
No.
I think that alone would have made it a rated M game in Japan. So, and that would have hampered sales.
Mhm.
So
Also,
I get.
Genova was an alien.
Well, no, like it was supposed to allude to the fact that he was just killing everyone
Oh.
on his way.
Yeah.
And that, like, granted, you know, like it sucks that they had to take that out, but like I understand the business practice. And then freaking, oh yeah, and they saved President Shinra, which is super funny because you get to a bench first,
Mhm.
and you can just sit on the bench.
Does
and let
somebody
him
help?
hang.
Help
You're like,
me.
just give me a second. And just take a squat. And then Barrett, I like that Barrett character moment with
Yeah.
Shinra.
He's like, you're gonna tell everybody the avalanche saved everyone.
Mhm.
No, it was like super cool that he was just like waiting, and like, but then like, and it was also a good character moment for President Shinra, like how he just finally got his gun. It's like turn the tables, like haha, like
Mhm.
no, like he thought I was gonna do all that shit, no, and then Sephiroth goes, stabs him. Like, you get to actually see him get stabbed this time around, which is kind of cool because in the original he's just kind of on his desk,
Yeah.
but and then he stabs Barrett, and I'm like.
And then you fight Genova.
Yeah, and then, yeah, like, but that was like whiplash. I was like,
Yeah.
like, but then I realized, oh wait, the whispers are probably
It's
gonna
kind of
come
weird
back.
how like Genova was just able to be like, I'm here.
Yeah.
But like, what's funny is I think they laid the groundwork for like, oh, haha, we can kill characters. See? And then at the end of the game, they reveal like, oh, maybe we can kill these characters now. And I'm like, oh shit.
They I like how they made plot armor like a canonical thing.
Yeah, and I know it's kind of
like it's kind of like just to show like, hey, look, this is an option we can do because it's not gonna be exactly the same. So
but
look at what we can do.
The Genova fight was kind of awesome.
Yeah.
I actually really enjoyed the Genova fight.
The
music was the music was so good. And the fact that they designed a whole new form of Genova was cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
Alien Genova.
Yeah.
It was like a
Dream
skull kind of face.
You know the Dream Watcher or something like that?
Like
Yeah.
Dream Eater.
And then it was Rufus.
That was a fun fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, with his gun.
I like how distraught Cloud was when he saw Barrett, though. Like, when he thought he died. Like, I was like, oh, wow.
His face.
He actually cares. Like, and it showed, you know? That was cool.
That scene where Tifa saves Cloud.
Wait, we have to get past the Rufus fight. Which was a really well designed fight.
It's a design
I love everyone saying how anime he looks with all the belts on him.
It's
Just remember who the original character designer for Final Fantasy VII was.
Yeah.
That didn't change. So.
I mean, he looked the same in Savage, just low poly.
Yeah.
Well, he had I don't know, he didn't have all the belts.
Well, I mean, maybe that was the original intention.
Maybe.
You just couldn't tell.
Yeah, because it's low
That's
poly.
Yeah. I mean, I think it fit.
He looked like a Tekken character.
He
Bro.
did.
It was awesome.
He's very anime, and I loved it.
But yeah, that was probably one of my favorite fights in the game after you figured it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he talks about how he's gonna be different from Shinra.
Yeah, he felt like it wasn't just this random guy in a suit with a dog. I'm like, in the original, I'm like, how the fuck am I not just kicking these guys' ass?
Yeah.
Now it felt like, oh, he's actually a threat. Like, he actually feels like a threat. So, and I think that's really cool. The fact that he can see the whispers is really interesting. That there's a prospect of, you know, again, we're just theorizing, but he may know, he may have his memories now from the original timeline. So he might be a good guy. We don't know that. So, like, that's really, really cool. And then motorcycle Berber scene.
That
boss fight was terrible.
Yeah.
It was not.
It was just a little too drawn out. He had the boss fight had too much health.
It felt way too long.
Yeah, it just had too much health, and you know, motorcycle combat limiting you to, you know, no magic, no healing, and one.
Especially
basic
it being
attack.
so late in the game, where it's basically like the fight before the final boss.
It was kind of like damn.
It was a little too long.
But yeah, it was like once you get past it, it's fine. Get to the bridge, and big boy reveal. It's Sephiroth, and he pulls a Virgil, and he cuts open the portal. And listen, and this is where everyone's opinions are split with how they felt about this ending. Everyone's saying like, oh, it was so Kingdom Heartsy and out of left field, and this or that, and you know, like, I get it, you know, we just got done dealing with Shinra robots and, you know, things, and now we're just kind of like fighting God. I get it, but like, it's also kind of just something you kind of have to accept and expect walking into a Final Fantasy game. It happens a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, also the
You
ghosts
fight
are
a
hyped up
giant
the whole
well-named
game.
sin. Big
Final Fantasy 9, people complain about the game because it's like you fight like not the final boss, but like it makes sense that like that would be the final boss, and you fight like this thing that's just kind of like God, and you're just like, oh, okay, like that's like a random boss fight.
But that's like an RPG trope.
Yeah, and then, same thing in Final Fantasy 10, you fight Jet, and then that's like, okay, this is the final boss. It's like, no, you fight you or whatever, Yevon, you fight Yevon, which is the god of that.
Yeah, it's kind of just
timeline. It's just
part of like the tropes, and I don't know. Were the fights well designed? No.
Yeah, that was.
No, they were not.
But like, I don't know. Like, it was cool. It was kind of cool seeing like the heroes. I get it. Some people were put off by the fact like, oh my god, these feel like the cast end game as far as like strength and what they're doing. But it was also kind of just cool to see it for the the spectacle. Yeah. Like, I was like, cool.
It kind of shows like they're still like strong, but they're not like if this is how strong they are now, what are they gonna look like at the end of the game?
I mean, then again, late game Sephiroth is
kind
of big, strong.
Yeah, Safer Sephiroth is
a god.
Is god. Is basically, yeah, he's a god. Like, you can't deny that. Like, this is big boss.
That's
and like
where his name
when you
comes
really think
from.
about it, like just this ninja and this martial artist, and a guy with a gun arm,
And
like
just country bumpkin with a spear.
like
Yeah.
fighting him,
A dog.
that didn't make sense.
Yeah.
But now it's kind of like, oh, maybe they're scaling, maybe they're
Yeah.
actually getting strong, you know, and but like I get it. Like I liked the whole exposition before. You know,
Yeah,
Aerith
like
talking
Aerith's-
about
yeah.
fate. You know, I know people were like, oh, that's just not her character, and like now they're just exposition dumping.
I don't know about that. That's
But you know, like
I mean,
they were alluding to this
yeah.
the
Real
kind of
time.
whole game. Like they were kind of like building up to it.
Especially because like since Sephiroth was there like from the beginning this time,
Yeah.
it goes to show that like they're making him more of a threat.
Yeah, they're making him more cognizant, more like they're going with the theme that he was omnipotent from the original game.
Yeah.
Like how he was just kind of everywhere, and like he was aloof and just like I'm doing my own thing, and you can come find me, but
Mhm.
I don't care. Like I'm just doing my thing, and like they're kind of like going along with that now.
I love like Aerith's speech about how like how freedom is scary.
Yeah, but like, and now they're alluding to the fact that like now that they have a chance, they have a
Yeah.
chance at saving everybody.
When they get the flashbacks in the fight,
oh yeah,
and it shows you Red 13's people.
yeah, Red 13's kids from the original timeline, and
Oh, those
They-
were from Advent Children.
yeah, that was an Advent
Yeah.
Children scene, which is interesting.
All those scenes were Advent Children.
Yeah, and
The meteor.
Yeah, and then Aerith, it showed Aerith getting killed.
And she was talking about like the future, like the futures of the like paths we have yet to take or something.
Yeah, so like it's really interesting. I think opening up these options is really really cool. You know,
Yeah.
I think that this is gonna create new cool character dynamics. And like I'm in the boat that if these characters are well done and well written, just like they were in this game, and they throw them in a new setting, I'm all for it because I'm all for the characters.
But I'm pretty sure they're going to keep most of the story elements the same. Or like not the story elements, but like
Yeah.
the events that happen, those are going to be mostly the same. So you're going to go to the same places.
Yeah, it's not like Costa del Sol doesn't exist
Yeah,
anymore. It's not
like-
like Gold Saucer doesn't exist
Yeah,
anymore.
because
you
you
know?
like going off like the Midgar part, like they
Yeah.
kept stuff beat for beat,
Yeah,
but now they're just going to add a little bit
exactly.
something new to it.
The keystone for the Temple of the Ancients is still in the Golden Saucer. Meaning they
Sure.
still have to go there.
I'm sure the black materia still exists.
Yeah, like these things aren't gonna just magically like poof. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, now they're gonna play fan fiction and just write everything out into a hole. No,
Speaking
that's-
of fan fiction, let's talk about that ending. Zack surviving.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
an alternate timeline.
well
it
see,
seems like.
okay.
People were real
Again,
mad about that.
People got their britches up, and there's also people that are like, no, but you see that he's walking to the hill that he got shot at.
I noticed this. Like this is like I'm pretty sure they did this on purpose, where they show like Zack and Cloud walking, and it's daytime. Because in the original cutscene where he dies, it's raining. Then when it goes back to like reality, where it's our current party, and Aerith is like, you know, I miss the steel sky. It's
yeah.
raining to show that this is different.
Yeah.
It shows that like this is like that Zack is that's an alternate timeline where he's alive.
I mean, the dog is also different.
They wouldn't have shown
Exactly.
the ghosts being at Midgar when they first showed Zack, and they wouldn't show them like on the Cinder Soldiers, showing
Mhm.
that was their influence to keep the timeline the same. They wouldn't have shown them disappearing if they didn't mean for him to
Yeah.
survive, and if they didn't mean for this to be a change in an alternate timeline.
Yeah.
And again, like leading into the fact that there were lots of talks in like pre-concept for the original Final Fantasy VII of Zack being the original hero,
Mhm.
and like having this being his game. Now that he's alive in this timeline, it can kind of be like an alternate version. Like,
Yeah.
what if Zack is basically the hero? What if Zack goes out of his way to save everyone? Or what if he doesn't? What if he doesn't join Avalanche? What if he does his own thing? Now there's options. But it's super cool, and that we could possibly have a happy ending.
For Aerith. Maybe.
Aerith of that
Of
timeline, maybe. Or maybe there's a lot of things that could happen, and that's all this is telling you. It's just they have options now, and like, why is change bad? Why are options bad? You know, like I get it. There was a lot of false advertising with it being remake,
Because it
remake,
really is
remake,
a sequel.
remake. But it is a sequel, and now that we know at the very least, and if that's not what you want, then you don't have to buy the next few games. That's fine. Me, on the other hand, I'm excited. Like, I'm actually genuinely excited at the prospect of a new experience, a new game, new changes. Because like, I don't know, like I love this cast. That's what I loved about the original game, and getting more of them. Sign me up. That's all I want. You know.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's just entertainment. So, just go into it and try to have fun. If you don't like it, like if they mess stuff up in the second game, then everybody will sit here and say, okay, yeah,
They messed up.
they messed up. But
Yeah.
until then, possibilities.
At the end of the day, it's still gonna look fucking awesome, and the music's gonna be kick ass.
That's
So
true.
that's what I like. I don't know.
I'm loving the new content.
I am too.
Yeah.
And man, if I get to have Zach and Cloud be bros together again, man.
Like
I'll be happy.
like even if it's just like this time or like the regular
That
time that we're
time, yeah.
playing through is like everything's still the same, but there's another timeline where everybody has a happy ending. Like to me, I feel like that raises the stakes of what you're
Yeah,
doing.
and I think that might be the direction they're going with. Why would they reveal that?
Yeah.
We'll finally have an alternate timeline where Zach, Cloud, Aerith, Barrett, everyone's alive.
Mhm.
They figure out a way to defeat Sephiroth now that they have their forces bolstered.
Mhm.
Because Cloud still has the enhancements.
Yeah.
That didn't change. Yeah, it changed. Now it's going to change his character development, but it's still he's still going to be strong.
Yeah,
So
Cloud's never gonna ever be like, I'm Zach.
Yeah.
so,
like,
like,
he'll be his own
yeah.
person. You'll have that
Yeah,
that dynamic
yeah.
between actual Cloud and actual
Actual Tifa.
meeting up
yeah,
and not,
Earlier.
not having that barrier between them
yeah. And now we can have Zach finally be with Aerith again.
and have double dates.
That scene's gonna make me cry.
Yeah, but like again, this is
I
speculation.
know, and
so-
all of you may feel like, oh, just dirty ass shippers and just thinking about fan fiction and this or that. But like, listen, is it bad to like the characters? Is it bad to want the characters that you love to have a happy ending? Is that too much? And in this like version, we'll have both. We'll have the timeline where Aerith dies and you can be happy that she dies, and like we can move forward and everything happens the same with slight differences. And then we can have the alternate timeline where everyone survives. Now we have options.
Mhm.
Options aren't bad inherently. Yeah, like that's my stance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if I'm gonna give the game my personal rating, like as a personal experience, it was a 10 out of 10 for my personal experience, and it's from a gaming perspective, it was like an 8.5 to 9 maybe, just because like of the inherent battle flaws in the combat and textures not loading necessarily on like doors and stuff. They need to fix that. But other than that, it was an awesome game, and again, personal experience 10 out of 10. Probably one of my favorite games for a long time. But,
Yeah. I think we could all say that we enjoyed it. It had flaws that we hope they address in the next installments, and that we're excited to see what happens. And then, if everything goes to shit, then we'll come back here and say, yeah, it
We're
went to
sorry.
shit. But until then, we're just gonna see what happens. So,
Mhm.
That's it. Yeah.
is that it for this one? It's been like 2 hours.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Let us know what you guys think of it and what you are looking forward to, what you're not looking forward to. Just have some actual discussion, not just calling each other stupid. Have actual
Eat
discussion.
bad, therefore eat bad.
Or just blind. Oh man,
Or
this is the
just
perfect
amazing,
game.
yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with it. No, they're
Yeah.
like it can be civil. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like the conversations can be fine. But I don't believe in being on your high horse and believing that there's only one right opinion. You know?
Just have an open mind and have some discussion. Until then, hope you enjoyed the 2-hour-long episode, and let us know if you want it to be shorter or just as long as this one.
Now this is the Super Whammy Family
The
Final
Super
Fantasy
Whammy.
special,
Yeah,
baby.
super whammy family fun.
The dilly dally shilly shally special.
There you go.
Exactly.
So yeah, this has been That Ain't Meta. Goodbye.
Bye.
You don't get a good